So it's almost November, guys.
No,
Yeah,
I
that's
didn't
almost
need to
Halloween.
hear that.
Yeah, it's winter already, huh?
Last I remember, it was May.
Well, John, you brought your buddy here, Andy Fether.
No, I didn't bring my buddy here. He brought himself. Didn't you drive yourself, Andy?
I did.
He drove himself.
Well, Andy,
he can do that.
An hour and a half away.
He can do that now. For a long time, I had to take him everywhere.
I was gonna say, are you allowed to drive anymore, Andy?
Yeah, for the moment.
Yeah.
For the moment.
So
I don't have to drive Miss Daisy anymore.
well, you came yesterday to Weekend Republic here with Penny Swan, and you had a story that you told about your situation in Hillsdale County. It was a pretty sad story, and we wanted to kind of get a little bit more in depth. We didn't have time to do the whole story yesterday. Well, we did most of it, but we can get a little bit more intimate today.
Well, we did. And the other thing is, though, too, we had a lot of people here, and
It was the most we ever had here.
And it was tough, but some people can't watch the video as they're driving. I get a lot of people that tell me that they listen to the R.O.A.R podcast while they drive.
Yeah.
And so this is just another opportunity for those that can't watch the video but want to listen while they're driving to hear the story. Because I know a lot of times I've told the story to people and they go, "Oh, that couldn't happen."
That can never happen.
Yeah. Well, also when you have a situation where you know that your community screwed up, you want to marginalize that psychologically. You want to minimize that.
Yeah,
You don't want to believe that someone in your community, especially someone in that position, a position of trust, someone that you trust the community with, you don't want to think that a cop would do someone bad. You don't want to think a judge would do someone bad. You don't want to think a prosecutor would do someone bad. That's something that you don't want to accept.
Can you turn my earphones down just a little?
Oh, yeah. Am I blaring you out here?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, just a little bit. Okay.
How's that? Testing 1, 2, 3?
A little bit more down.
There,
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. So
better.
we'll keep that in. We won't even edit that out.
Okay.
So this what we do is we got a lot of, what is it, apathy?
Yeah,
Does that sounds about right?
Yeah, I mean,
we're all guilty of it, right?
Well, the apathy in this county, especially in this county, is strong, and you'll find apathy in these counties where you've got a lot of relation and things are a little bit slower. It's not so fast paced here.
Yeah.
It's a great place to raise a family. That's why it's such a great place to raise a family. But the problem is when that happens in these communities like this, you have a tendency to have huge apathy. And it's because everybody knows everybody or everybody's related to everybody. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's a good thing that people have family here, that they have strong ties here, that it's a great place to raise a family. I mean, it is. That's why people move here. But one of the cons to the pro of that is there's huge apathy here in this county. And
it particularly, John, we experience it at county, well, even township level government, local government. We see it.
Oh, absolutely.
We see it heavily there because.
Well, you see it every 4 years. You see it in the voting, right? Out of all the people that are eligible to vote in Hillsdale County, only about half of them are registered. On a largest election, we've had only 23% of those that are registered to vote show up to vote. So if you break that down, let's take 22%. That means 11% of the people that are able to vote.
Well, I was trying to explain that to a politician just the other day. It's not like it's majority. It's a small amount of people that are deciding for everybody.
Yeah, it's a very small amount. Now, what some people say, well, those that don't come out to vote have decided already that they're going to go along with the majority of the minority. Not necessarily true.
Oh, by the way, Andy, if we cut you off or whatever, just know it's the nature of communicating on
it's
podcast.
All good.
Yeah,
this
is what
we'll get back on track.
This is what we do. Sorry.
Well, there's no time limit here, right? You can digress if you need to.
Yeah.
Right.
There's, if you cut me off, I'm not going to get mad over the microphone here.
Now, Andy, do you want to tell a story or do you want me to do the narrative? It's up to you.
Go ahead. You're better at the narrative.
Okay. Well, the only reason I'm better at the narrative is because I absolutely lived this case, lived and breathed it for
about 3 years.
About 3 years. I did all the digging on the paperwork and
was
saw
this
who
your
did what.
Was this
when.
your first biggest case, John, when you guys did HGP?
I would say probably it was the first biggest case. I mean, we had quite a few cases that we worked on and helped people on.
Yeah, next to the girl down in Camden.
Yeah, we helped a young lady down in Camden graduate when the superintendent was targeting her and not following the Americans with Disabilities Act or her 501
Do you need a tissue, Andy?
restriction.
No,
Man,
I'm
you're
good.
like snorting all over that microphone.
Well, the reason why is
It's November.
Yeah.
but he's-
I moved up here from South Carolina.
yeah, shut that down if you would.
Yeah, it is kind of loud.
Shut the whole thing down. Yeah.
But no, it's my nose has been running nonstop lately.
Well, if your feet smell and your nose run, you're built upside down. You know that, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I am.
Just making sure.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, what happened was in I believe it was probably January of 2015. I had my truck in, getting it worked on, and Andy came to me and he said, "I'd like to talk to you about something." So he pulled me off to the side, and he told me his tale of woe. And of course, what he told me, I took it with a grain of salt. Everybody does. And so I asked him. I said, "Well, are you willing to sign a general power of attorney for me to be able to pull all your records, your military records, your criminal records, everything, so that I can take a look at it and see what you're saying is true?" And he said, "Yeah." So he signed a general power of attorney. I went to the Department of Defense, Department of the Army, and pulled all of his military records. And then I wrote letters to the FBI. I wrote letters to Tim Wahlberg's office. I did FOIAs in a lot of different areas. I FOIA'd all of his criminal records. I FOIA'd the police reports. I FOIA'd all of it. And I sat down and I started to go through it. And every step, I started seeing that everything Andy had told me was absolutely the truth. It wasn't even skewed to his side. It was absolute truth what he told me.
I mean, John, you get a lot of people that come to HGP, and I would say probably majority of them have issues with their cases. You give it a grain of salt, but there's usually something
Sure.
that's hang up. Maybe they are just being thrown in the mix, but there's like I don't want to say there's a legit reason why they're running into that. They're running into that situation because they got major issues going on
Sure.
at home.
I mean, the other thing is this.
It's hard to sympathize with someone that's not helping themselves.
Well, one of the things that the establishment has been trying to pound the HJP about and trying to spread this narrative around town that our goal is to try to get guilty people off is not true. Our goal is very clear. It's justice for all, and it's in the Pledge of Allegiance. So I don't think it's a bad thing, right? And even with Andy's case, I said something to somebody. I said, we need some help with some legal bills. Would you guys help? And I told them the story, and one of the guys said, "Well, if he's guilty, he needs to rot in hell. He doesn't deserve justice." And I said, "Excuse me? And you fought for this country? So you don't believe that if somebody's guilty, they deserve justice? When in the Pledge of Allegiance it ends with "and justice for all."
Well, I don't think a lot of people know what justice is in the first place.
And that's the problem.
They think cops are the ones that should give the justice.
We
right?
think that justice is only for the innocent, not for the guilty. No, if we don't protect the rights of the guilty, the rights of the innocent mean nothing. So justice is probably a term that a lot of people don't understand the true definition of. And justice is, if you did a little crime, you should do a little time. If you did a big crime, you should do a big crime. But on the other side of that coin is, if you didn't do anything, you shouldn't get anything, right?
That's right.
If you're innocent, then you're innocent. It's that simple. The problem is we like to see justice as, justice is you're innocent. No. Justice is, if you did do a small crime, you still have the right to remain silent. You still have the right of the Fourth Amendment that you shouldn't be searched and have your property seized without.
You mean you shouldn't be dragged out of a car, beat up, and thrown in jail, and then beat you up in jail and dehumanized? That's
right. See, the thing is, if you're guilty, it's still not the jails. It's not the correction staff at the jail to torture you or to do. Not that I say that they are. I'm just saying it's not their job. They're not the ones that dole out justice.
Well, you
right?
obviously seen isolated situations working in the Justice Department and the corrections field.
Yes.
That where people took it upon themselves to punish the inmates.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
And it used to create huge problems within the institutions.
In the institution itself, and the one that you worked at, because you worked at, what was it, Lenawee? Where'd you work at?
I worked at Gus Harrison Regional Facility.
Out out of the hundreds of employees that are there, John, how bad do you think it was as far as employees, staff that felt that it was their job to give the justice?
Oh, it was huge. It
was huge. I never asked you this question before.
Yeah, it was huge. There was a lot of officers. In fact, I got ostracized a lot because I believed in justice.
10%, 20%. What do you think?
I'd say probably on one shift there was probably only about 3 or 4 of us that believed in justice, and of course we got treated like the redheaded stepchildren.
Were you night shift, day shift?
I was on second shift while I was there for the most part. I worked day shift and I worked third shift there.
So the leadership of the night shift where you worked at, or when you worked there, the leadership probably was pretty weak, I would assume, and didn't...
Oh, no, the leadership actually pushed. If you followed the rules, or if you were a proponent of justice at all, you were told that, you're a convict lover, or you were soft. You got marginalized. They promoted cowboys. That's what they promoted.
And that just trickles down to the police department as well, as we noticed.
Well, a
lot of them are cowboys. They're good cowboys. They're good people.
Problem.
Right?
It's a problem throughout the entire justice system. It is. We've gotten away from this idea of the principles of the Constitution. We've gotten away from the ideas of the principles.
How about humanity?
Well,
where's the humanity?
But isn't that what the principles of the Constitution are all about?
I mean, it's just very basic morality. So
it is morality. But anyway, we digress from the story. So anyway, Andy came to me in January. I pulled all of his records, pulled all the information. What had happened was, when Andy was in Iraq in 2007, a lower enlisted decided to get even with him because he didn't like him for whatever reason, made a complaint that Andy had child pornography on his computer.
Which an accusation we know can destroy someone's life alone.
Absolutely. And
right.
that's a pretty damning
ultimately
accusation. So what happened was Andy's post commander at the time issued a field grade Article 15 on him, which was a 45-day hold on post. And so he couldn't go out on combat trains. And the reason why they had to keep him on post for 45 days was because the Department of Justice and the Department of Defense overlap in that area. So they had to bring in an FBI agent from the States. An FBI agent flew over from the States, seized Andy's electronic gear, went through everything. A 30-day investigation. At the end of a 30-day investigation, basically said, there's no crime here. We can't charge Andy with anything. He hasn't broken the law. And that was the findings of their investigation. In 2010, Andy, of course, then at that point in time, once they found that there was no evidence of a crime, Andy's post commander then pulled the non-judicial punishment, or the NJP, are in the form of an Article 15. And there's only one reason under UCMJ, which is the Uniform Code of Military Justice, that you can pull an Article 15, which is a field grade non-judicial punishment, and that is only for just cause. Now, if you look up just cause, it means that there has to be no foundation to the claims or to the accusations which brought about the Article 15 to pull it.
In layman's version, they just took care of everything. You didn't do nothing wrong, and they left.
You didn't do anything wrong, so we're going to pull your Article 15.
Right.
Now, with an Article 15 in Andy's personnel file in the military, that would have kept him from a good conduct medal, that would have kept him from having any valor device on any of his medals. It also...
I didn't even think about stuff like that, like with your conduct, that it's going to affect like things like medals.
Yeah, it affects all. It affects all those things.
Well, I'm not military.
You wouldn't get any medals.
I don't even know anybody in the military like well enough. Like I don't have family members that were like.
Not only that, there's a thing that all veterans understand and know. It's called a DD 214, a document. It's a Defense Document 214. That's your release document. In that release document, it has what your rank was. It has how many days you served. It has.
That's when they say like dishonorable discharge or honorable discharge.
That's right. It tells whether you're honorably discharged.
And the code under that, because you can get discharged honorably, but like a medical.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it breaks it down in a certain designation.
So there's a bunch of different codes for a bunch of different things.
So I had to pull all those codes, because the other thing is, not everybody memorizes all those codes, and there's only about 220 of them.
Yeah.
So you have to know what all those codes are. So I actually went to the Department of Defense and pulled all those codes so that we could show what the codes were on Andy's DD-214, which shows not only that, if you received any disciplinary in your it's stated right on your DD-214. Well, one of the glaring things in Andy's case was there was nothing on his DD-214 as far as any disciplinary. He had good time. All of his time was good time. All of his time was honorable.
The only
so
negative
strange.
thing in my record was I failed a PT test once, and I was flagged from being promoted.
Yeah.
And
for 30 days until he took a test again.
And then I retook it, and I
passed it in 30
it with flying
days.
colors.
So that was on his DD-214. So wouldn't you think if something as minor as him failing a PT test is on his DD-214, that something as bad as being in possession of child pornography would be on his DD-214?
Right.
Absolutely.
He'd be discharged dishonorably, right?
Well,
Right.
At that point in time, being
you
in possession
would go to
of-
court-martial, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
Would it be
it
a
would be
court-martial?
general-
Oh, yeah.
It'd be general courts martial. And so anyway, anybody that doesn't understand the 600 UCMJ 600 regulations wouldn't understand any of that.
Which I don't.
So anyway, so I had to go through all of that, and so I went through all of that and disproved everything on his DD-214 as far as it would relate to him getting non-judicial punishment for being in possession of child pornography wasn't there.
Well, it's kind of a blessing that he found you, John, because you were in the military to understand a lot of this.
And I was an NCO in the military, so I dealt with Article 15.
That's kind of
before.
And that's kind of
cool.
what turned me on to want to talk to him. He came into my repair facility all the time, talking,
right.
justice.
You guys got, and you guys had a
Yeah, I was
little
talking
bit
all
of,
that justice crap, wasn't I?
yeah, all that justice crap. And
Well, you guys have something in common, right? You
knowing
guys both
laws.
in the military.
Yeah, I
Well,
knew he was prior
you know,
service, so
Military guys love to lie to each other about the military, right?
Yeah,
That's what we
like-
do. That's
Yeah.
what
Who
we
caught the bigger fish? Type guys.
Yeah,
Like-
it's just war
Where
stories.
were you sent to?
You know what they always say. Fairy tales started out once upon a time.
John
and
told me he got
war
sent to the
stories-
Mediterranean and swam every day.
Yeah.
Time.
So war stories start out.
y'all
they'll say
ain't gonna
no
believe
crap.
this shit.
That's right. So it's just something we do. And so anyway, so I collected all this information. I started looking at it, and then I pulled the police reports. Well, what happened was in 2010, Andy, not Sergeant, but Trooper Hurst was investigating a larceny. And what had happened was Andy had a gentleman that owed him money. And so Andy called him up and said, I need my money. The guy said, well, I don't have money, but I've got these things I've got to pawn, but I don't have any way to get there because I don't have a car and I don't have a driver's license. So Andy took him to the pawn shop in Jonesville. The guy went into the pawn shop in Jonesville. Of course, at that time, pawn shops, and I think even so now, because of things being stolen, you have to have an ID, and they have to Xerox your ID before they'll pawn the stuff. And so the guy didn't have an ID, of course, and this is where Andy made his first mistake, was he let them use his ID.
Technically, it was a second mistake. Sounds like he was hanging out with a bad dude in the first place.
It wasn't hanging out with the guy. The guy
Yeah,
owed him
I
money.
wasn't really hanging out with the guy. It was a
Andy,
friend of a friend.
Being associated with the guy.
Andy
in the
lent
first
the
place,
guy.
right?
Andy lent the guy.
Friend of the friend.
I'm guilty of it too. I buy and resell for a living, so
Okay.
Right.
of course
But-
I bought and stolen goods. by
But
mistake.
Andy had lent this guy money, and the guy owed him money back. So
Okay.
that wasn't a mistake. Andy's got a big heart. He helps people out too.
Right.
So it's kind of what us military guys do. That thing of service. We
Wait,
believe in
are you
service.
implying that I don't?
So yeah, I did. I didn't imply it. I said it right out front. So you should know that. So anyway, Andy went to the pawn shop. They pawned the stuff. Some of the stuff was stolen. So they called the state police. Trooper Hurst came in to start investigating this larceny. Trooper Hurst called Andy up, said he wanted to meet with him. He met with Trooper Hurst. Trooper Hurst said, "Look, you stole the stuff." Andy said, "No, I didn't." Pull the videotapes. You can tell it wasn't me.
Yeah,
He
you got to
told
prove
the-
beyond a reasonable doubt that you stole it.
Oh, yeah.
He told
You know.
Trooper Hurst who it was, where the guy lived. Trooper Hurst didn't go investigate any of that stuff.
Oh, they
Just
didn't
said
even go
it
after that guy
No,
either?
they didn't.
No,
didn't
no.
even go investigate.
Really?
They just said, we've got your ID, so you're the guilty party.
Interesting. Okay.
So basically, Andy told Trooper Hurst where to go and drew him a map, and that kind of ticked him off. So Trooper Hurst pulled a lien on Andy, and he also pulled an NCIC report, which is the
National lien.
National type lien. And the lien in Michigan stands for Law Enforcement Information Network. But anyway, so they pulled that. And on that NCIC, they found this investigation by the FBI that Andy was investigated for being in possession of child pornography.
Now, I wonder what that looks like on the lean. I was kind of curious when you said this yesterday.
I've always been curious too.
Like, what does it look like on their computer screen when they're looking at a lean?
Well, see, and that's the problem. When I FOIA'd the FBI, and I FOIA'd, and I actually asked my congressman, Tim Walberg, to pull that information. Tim Walberg sent me the letter he got back from the FBI that said there's nothing on the NCIC. It's been wiped out. It's gone. There's nothing there.
Wow. At least, so Tim looked into it.
Yeah, he did.
Wow, that is cool too. I've never heard anything good about that guy. So that's awesome that he looked into it.
Well, I mean, he did what he's supposed to do, which was follow up on a complaint by his constituent. So,
shut up, John.
He doesn't know the Constitution, but at least he did that. But anyway, so what had happened was Trooper Hurst put in his police report, and we've got a copy of that, said that Andy had received non-judicial punishment because he'd been charged and convicted of being in possession of child pornography.
And discharged
from
the Army.
Now, who said this?
This was Trooper Hurst.
Okay.
And so anyway, and so he said that, and I'm not sure if he said that you were dishonorably discharged.
Oh, he said I was kicked out. Trust me.
Said
I was there one-on-one with
Okay.
him. He said I was discharged from the military.
For being in possession of child pornography.
Yes.
So none of that was true, but he wrote that in his report.
And obviously, at this time, you're a much younger man. You were...
Yeah, I was
a little bit more
25
naive.
or
Yeah,
so.
I was going to say, you're probably naive to not knowing your rights. You're not knowing what to say and how to say it when the officer's
Not knowing
there.
how the system works.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. I can only imagine. Like now at that point, you're like, because my name's John Smith, right? So there's been times where I got arrested, and they're like, "You got a warrant out in California." I'm like, I've never been there. Like, what are you talking about?
Go to any motel, and you're going to see 50 John Smiths signed in, right?
But now I know how to conduct myself, right?
Right,
So
right.
like at that time, I can only assume that you probably didn't know how to conduct yourself.
No, he didn't. And so anyway. So we get this report, the police report. This is what started the ball rolling. And so in 2010, Trooper Hurst writes in his report in September that Andy's guilty of being in possession of child pornography, that he'd been charged and convicted of being in possession, and that the only thing he received was non-judicial punishment in the military, which is wrong under Regulation 600 in the military UCMJ. That can't be.
I mean, how would he know unless he was military?
Well, that's his job to investigate, right?
Okay.
That's part of his job.
Right,
if I
right.
can find the information, he could have.
Right.
He just didn't want to.
He just didn't want to.
He was caught up in his own beliefs. He didn't care.
Yeah, he decided he'd found who
you're
was
guilty.
guilty, and that's
Right.
just all there was. He had other traffic tickets he had to get
I
to.
mean, that's
right?
a common theme in the law enforcement. Right?
Well, it shouldn't be, but it is. But anyway, so he'd handed it over to Detective Sergeant Gokenauer. Detective Sergeant Gokenauer
Out of Jonesville Police Station, right?
Right.
Well, out of Post 13. She came to the Jonesville Barracks, and they worked out of there. But that Jonesville Barracks is actually closed down. It's not staffed.
Right.
There's just some troopers.
But she was there.
Operate out of
not
there.
that long ago.
Yes, she does work out of there. She did work out of there before she retired. But anyway, she said that Andy was a fugitive from justice and sent him messages that he needed to come turn himself in because he was a fugitive from justice. She handed that off, and it went to her commander. I can't even pronounce his name, but anyway.
It's strange because the paperwork, the chain of custody of the paperwork and stuff, I don't see how they could rule anything.
Well, what they were going by is exactly 100% what Trooper Hurst had said.
Even at
Right.
that, though, that's,
And
that's not enough evidence to say that you're found guilty of anything.
Right.
You didn't know anything that's written in a police report is absolute all truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Well, John, we need to back up there. When I was being investigated by Trooper Hurst, he gave me an ultimatum, said 10 days. I had 10 days to go to the sheriff's department and register, and I told him where he could go.
Register as a
sex offender. Now, he's not even on the sex offenders registry at this point.
Where does the state cop have the authority to even have the idea that you need to register for anything?
Because of what he
Like,
read.
why is it determined by him, anyways?
Well, but you see, this is the problem. There was
Who
no
is
due
he?
process. There was
Yeah.
no due process, right?
He told me 10 days. If I'm not up there to register, he was going to throw out a warrant for
Why
my
did
arrest.
he give you any days?
Well, the problem is he told him he had to register, but he's not even at this point in time. This is September of 2010.
No, I know. I find it bizarre that this guy had the arrogance, I guess, if you will, to say you got 10 days, brother. Like as if he's the judge, executioner, the jury.
Again, like I said, a violation of due process, right? Somebody that doesn't understand the Constitution.
It doesn't understand humanity.
It doesn't understand the Constitution. This is law. We're not talking humanity. We're talking the law. We're talking the Constitution.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So,
sure.
So he told him in September that he has 10 days. He's got to go register, and Detective Sergeant Gokenauer, after that 10 days, said he was a fugitive from justice. And at this point in time, he still is not even on the sex offenders registry. They had sent that information up to her name. I can't remember.
Melissa
Marinoff, but the other one was something Kelly. I can't remember her name.
Marcy
Kelly.
Now, who are these two people?
Marcy Kelly was the supervisor at the time of the sex offenders registry.
State police?
At state police, at that unit. And Melissa Marinoff.
A lot of people might not know this. Michigan State Police is the one that controls the sex offenders registry list.
Yeah. They also control the crime lab. They also control, there's too many things that they're in control of. But anyway, so what had happened was it got sent to Melissa Marinoff, who happens to be a technician in the sex offenders registry unit, and Marcy Kelly was her supervisor. They sent it up there and asked for them to make a determination on whether he should be or shouldn't be on the sex offenders registry. Now, the fact of the matter is you can't get on the sex offenders registry without a court order after due process.
Where's the judgment? Yeah.
You have to have a judgment. You have to have an order signed by a judge to be placed on it. So in April of 2011, Melissa Marinoff had made a decision, and she put it right in the police report. It's right in the police report that she made the decision that he should be on the sex offenders registry and that she would pre-register him, and she made up a conviction date of April 1st, I believe it was.
Yeah, April something.
April 4th.
Yeah,
April 4th of 2011, which was the day she put him on
that's bad.
the sex offenders
She
registry.
made up a conviction date.
She made up a conviction rate.
She
and
made
she
the
put it
judgment
black
date.
and white that she committed a felony too.
Yeah, we had that. We had the face page from the sex offenders registry that showed the conviction date of April 4th, 2011. Okay. Now, conviction date, you have to have a due process to be convicted of something, right?
Correct.
You can be charged with something, but you're not convicted until you've had your day in court.
That's right.
So anyway, of course, they at that point in time, then they put a warrant out for Andy's arrest because he hasn't gone to the sheriff's department and
I was non-compliant.
That's a technical felony at that point in time, right? So they arrest him. They take him before Judge Sanderson in district court.
Hillsdale here.
In Hillsdale, he gets a court-appointed attorney.
Was this the judge before Smith?
Yeah, no. This is
This is district.
District. The judge before Sarah Lisney.
Okay.
And so it goes before Judge Sanderson, and Andy tells Judge Sanderson, "Look, I shouldn't be on the sex offenders registry. I haven't done anything wrong."
Well, I'm assuming you talked to Neil before you talked to him. Brady?
Who talks to Neil in this town?
Yeah.
You didn't see the prosecutor before you went to see the judge?
Oh, no, my court-appointed lawyer spoke with him.
Who was your court-appointed lawyer?
I want to say it was Rod Hassinger the first
No,
time.
no, Dunham.
Dunham?
Rod Dunham.
Oh.
Why do I know that name?
Because he's a defense
He's
lawyer
still over there?
still here.
Oh, he's still over there.
Yeah, he's still a defense lawyer here in town.
See, this is important to know, right?
Then, the two defense lawyers that Andy had, the first one was Rod Dunham, and the second one was Barry Paulson. Were his two defense lawyers, or was Paulson the first one?
So
I don't know.
when you first go to
Hassinger.
court, well, when you
I
first
can't
go
remember.
to when you first go to court, which attorney did you have when you first went to court?
It was a court-appointed attorney. It was either Barry Paulson or it was Rod Dunham, one of the two.
Obviously, they didn't do their job, right?
Yeah, they did. They went to the prosecuting attorney and got a plea deal, right? Before they talked to their client. This is how we do it. I mean,
I'm assuming you told your attorney everything, and your attorney does nothing.
No, not really. I mean, when you get a court-appointed attorney in this town,
I've had many, but not in this town. But I mean,
in this town, it I don't know how it worked where you were from, but
sure.
in this town, they all
turn me down just a little bit again.
They all meet prior to even meeting with me, and I show up to court and the lawyer just basically says, well, we've got this plea bargain, and this is what the prosecuting attorney is willing to offer. Like, I never spoke with my lawyer prior or anything. You're turning me down.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe we got the headphones backed up differently.
Okay. Yeah, I don't hear myself at all now.
He's in 2. I'm in 3.
Yeah, I don't hear myself. That's better.
Okay.
But I think you just turned my voice down.
Your voice is over here.
Okay, there we go. That's better.
Yeah,
That's way better.
Sorry,
That's way better.
guys.
It's blowing my ear out.
So anyway, I walked into court from that first.
When he first started, he was talking like this. Now he's like, oh, yeah, like,
Yeah,
dog.
because he's into the story,
Yeah, he
man.
gets excited.
Turn me up just a smidge.
Well,
just a smidge.
It was my first time kind of
That's better.
doing
It's okay.
anything like this, so
We're popping your
got to
cherry.
warm up. But you don't talk with your lawyer ahead of time in this town. They don't.
Well,
They have a
They come and
meeting.
see you 10 minutes
No,
before
I've
court
seen
in
it.
the courthouse.
And
I've
they
seen
say-
it many
courtroom.
times in my lifetime as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, and
it
they
just
say-
depends on where you're at.
It's no different than the Shannon Handy case.
Yeah,
You were-
exactly.
And they throw it at you like this. They're like, well, this is what you're being charged with. This is good case scenario if you take this plea bargain, but if you want to fight it, you're facing 15 years in prison.
And your charge was failure to register.
Right.
Yeah,
And that's prison time.
Man.
it's a felony.
Yeah.
That's straight prison time.
So let's get into that. So he tells the judge basically we're gonna cut to the chase here and do this short form here. He told the judge, he said, "Look, Judge, I'm not guilty. I haven't committed a crime to be on the sex offenders registry." The judge said, "Can you prove it?" So
Which is a bizarre statement.
yeah,
right from
because
the
you're
rip
supposed
right
to be
there, like-
innocent until proven guilty, and it's the state's requirement to prove that you're guilty beyond a shadow of a doubt. What should have happened was his lawyer at that point in time said, "Excuse me, Judge, point of law, but isn't it the state's responsibility to prove him guilty? If they can show a court order putting him on that sex offenders registry, we'll wait. That's all you got to do is we'll wait." Right? If they can't prove it, then
they
we'd
should
ask
be
that
able to
this
pull
case
that
be
up
thrown
pretty
out.
easy and quickly.
Oh, absolutely.
With computers today.
Neil should have already had that in his docket, right?
You would think.
Yeah, he should have already had that in his
I'm
docket.
surprised Neil didn't have this dropped from the rip, but okay.
So anyway, Andy come back and he said, "Well, I can't prove that I'm not guilty." So basically, Andy's looking at I got to follow what my court-appointed attorney said. So he pleads the no contest because he doesn't want to spend 15 years in prison.
Which is a guilty plea. Just so everybody in the audience is listening.
It's not a guilty plea; it's a no contest.
Yeah,
but the
it's
court
guilty.
has to take it and operate as if it is a guilty plea.
Yeah,
Okay,
don't
so
do
everything
it.
that the court
Don't
does.
do it.
So anyway, Judge Sanderson said, okay, that's a technical felony, gave him the felony, told him he had to go down and if he didn't have to serve any time if he would go down that day to the sheriff's department and register his address. So he went down that day to the sheriff's department and registered his address. So now he's a pervert, right? He's a pervert. So
You went from being totally innocent one day
to being a pervert the next.
to being a total pervert felon,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, pervert with a felony on his record.
Child molester. I mean, hell, the
Diaper sniper, whatever they call it, right?
the names go on.
Over a state police officer lying on a report.
Right.
With him just saying that he had been charged and convicted of being in possession of child pornography, which was not true.
And when we try to explain to people about the sheer power of the sheriff, they don't understand it. This is a state police officer.
Yeah.
Look how much power they have.
And here's the thing. We're not saying that Trooper Hurst did anything nefarious or decided that he was going to do anything
Well, I mean,
evil or
why
wrong.
don't you just kick him in the gut over there? I'm sure he feels differently about it.
But what you write in your reports have real life consequences.
Do you think
to
it was
people's
nefarious,
lives.
Andy?
Let's say again.
Do you think it was nefarious what he did?
You think it was evil intent, or do you think it was just an honest mistake on his part?
I think he was ignorant of the fact and not willing to look into things.
So it wasn't nefarious.
Okay.
So what we have to realize is it doesn't mean that the police officers in these cases are evil. What it means is they didn't realize how much weight was put on their words and how it can absolutely destroy someone's life.
You're saying they have a lot of power. They just don't recognize the power that they have.
Sometimes they don't know.
Right. And then it comes back and it hurts citizens because they don't realize.
It has real life consequences to people.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, so now at this point in time, Andy's he's a pervert, and the mother of his child then takes him to court for child support, or takes him to court because now he's a pervert, and he gets entangled up with friend of the court. So friend of the court says, you owe us money or you go to jail. And Andy says, but I don't have a job because now I'm a pervert, and so I've lost my job. And they say, well, part of being a pervert is you have to maintain a job and maintain a home. So Andy has to try to find work.
Did friend of the court restrict your ability to see your child at that time?
For a short period of time.
When that was going on?
Yep.
Yes.
So now he owes friend of the court or he goes to jail, but he can't keep a job because he's a pervert. But so now he can't pay his proof. He can't pay his insurance, his car insurance.
Can't do anything,
right?
Man. Let's be fair.
And so he has to what money he can get. He has to look at the decision between paying insurance for his vehicle or pay the mother of his child, or he goes to jail. So he goes to jail either way.
Yeah, life doesn't stop.
Yeah,
because,
he goes.
he has to continue moving forward, right?
So he goes to jail either way.
I can already imagine what this is like, because I had CPS called on me with my kids one time, and they stopped my restriction to see my kids until the investigation was over with. The investigation took 6 months.
Oh yeah,
isn't that
right?
odd?
Nothing. It was cleared. Difference in parenting. What I'm thinking here, and I've been accused of sexual assault, ironically, so I've been in some situations that you've been in, right? And that came up to be false.
Wait a minute. You said ironically.
Oh, you got me. But no, I just the accusation alone, I psychologically, I know what it does to you.
Right.
Obviously I wasn't in your shoes per se. It was a lesser degree, but I can only imagine what, after going through, you're an innocent man, life was going the way that it's supposed to be going, one day, and then the next day you're on the sex offender registry list, you're a felon, you don't have the funds, you lose your job, you lose
certain
everything.
Places you can't live.
lose family, housing.
Psychologically,
people don't believe you when you say you're not guilty.
How long do you have to take a break psychologically to get your shit back together? That's
you can't, because life goes on, right? There is
That's
no
what
break
I'm saying,
for you.
I didn't have time.
There is no break for you at that point in time.
So this is probably all moving so fast for you at the time that you didn't even have time to realize what is going on.
Yeah, I couldn't process everything.
And now you're probably, at that time, you probably had a lot of infighting with family.
Angry.
You're pissed all the time. That's a negative impact that will change your life drastically. And
you feel like there's no hope. There's no help.
You're a target. You've been a target. You're scared to go places probably or do things because now you've been targeted so much.
But now jail becomes a frequent, common thing,
or even
right?
a place where you
try going to jail with being a sex offender.
Well, that's
not good.
I didn't even think about that. I was going to say maybe jail might be a place to go for some sort
break.
For break.
There's no break there.
Far from
no
a
break there.
Because I can imagine, because when you're sitting with those 30 dudes in that ball pen, what you in here for, dog?
For
larceny of a building. Larceny of a building.
For murder.
For ripping a man to pieces. Remember that commercial? I love that commercial.
Yeah. So I could, we're making light of this, but I mean, it is totally. It's a surreal moment, probably in someone's life.
Yeah. His life is destroyed at this point in time, and now he's just trying to figure out how to put it back together, right?
And it was under the people that were there
supposed to protect you.
Well, so-called protect you, right? Like, John.
But they are. They say they're supposed to protect you, right?
John, you and I both know there's no constitutional duty.
No,
for
they
any of
don't
these
have
to
the
protect
ability
you.
or the duty. To
I don't even.
Anyone.
I can't even imagine what their mission statements are. But regardless, so you thought this system was here to protect you, and here they just totally destroyed you.
Yeah.
They railroaded me.
Yeah, it was the system that was destroying his life. So anyway, this is the problem Andy's in. And so at this point in time, Trooper Hearst targets him, and a lot of other people in law enforcement target him because now they know that he's having trouble keeping a job. They know he's having trouble paying his car insurance. They know, so when he's late on his child support, then they restrict his license, or they suspend his license, right?
It was probably too high too.
So they pull him over for suspended license. He gets that. He racks up about a $5,000 bill in driver's responsibilities.
No. Try like 10, 12.
Yeah.
He paid a lot of it down.
I probably had.
What year was this? Does this go on? 2010.
This is 2011 now.
11.
Yeah.
And was if Cox was still in office, that was 12% interest at that time.
Yeah. They had him.
If it was then, might not have been though.
So
that's
now
4% interest though.
So now Andy, who's a mechanic who can't drive, that when he works on vehicles, he has to take them out and test drive and make sure that they're all right. How do you do that, right? So now they've restricted his ability to make a living. They've restricted his ability to make a living because he's a pervert. They've restricted his ability to make a living because he's got the driver's responsibility fees and he's got a suspended license. They've restricted his ability to make a living because he's going to get arrested.
Nobody considers if Andy had, or not Andy, just people in general, if they have psychological issues with this, like so they'll develop psychoses with this
Absolutely.
Stuff. They're embarrassed. They're afraid to go out. They get anxiety.
There's nothing worse. There's no psychosis worse than to know that you're innocent, but being treated as a guilty individual.
Yeah.
It will destroy people. It destroys you emotionally.
Eat you alive. It eat everybody around you alive.
I hated walking through Walmart.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, I mean, and then if
people looking at you like they were ready to beat my ass.
Yeah.
And the other thing is,
it's a witch hunt when you're talking about.
It is.
It's a witch hunt. Yeah,
even if they don't, Andy's in this prison in his own mind. When people look at him wrong, you have to assume why. Well, they're looking at me like that because I'm a pervert. They might not even know. They might be looking at the person behind you, but this is the prison.
That's what I mean. Yeah,
that you're in your own mind.
Yes.
Right. This is.
Can you imagine that kind of anxiety?
Emotional. This is emotional torture.
Think
every
about
day.
that anxiety that you have to deal with every day.
And so anyway.
Yeah.
So then we get to November of 2014, and Andy is temporarily homeless because he can't. Because he's got a restricted license. He's been.
Do what?
You were on that list for 3 years?
I was on that list for 5.
5 years?
Yeah.
5 years, yeah.
So 2014.
How old are you?
No, it was almost 5 years.
You're in your 30s?
Just shy of 5 years.
Yeah, I'm 33.
Wow. So you spent most of your 20s on that list.
Yeah.
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 Holy smokes.
Yeah.
I'll be 34 this January.
They can't make you whole again. It's
impossible.
You
can't give 5 years of a man's life back. You
Wow.
can't do it. You can't give his psychological well-being back.
But John, I was on the list just shy of 5 years. But then you got to think I moved to South Carolina in 16, and it followed me there.
It's still coming up.
Sure.
So anyway, we're in November of 2014 now at this point in time, and Andy's temporarily homeless. And I say light of it. You never hear of a homeless congressman, but you always hear of homeless veterans. There's something wrong with that whole scenario. But anyway, so Andy was temporarily homeless. He went to the sheriff's department because he's trying to do the right thing, right? Because he's tired of going to jail. He's tired of getting pulled over. He's tired of getting hassled. He's tired of all this stuff. He's just trying to make a living.
Hey, Andy, if you don't mind me asking, I know I'm cutting John off again. How many times do you think you've been pulled over and went to jail up to that point?
Oh,
at least 7 that I know of.
I think that's shooting it.
But let's
shooting it light.
Somewhere between 7 and a dozen. Is that fair to say?
More
approximately
like a dozen and 2 dozen.
Yeah. I mean, I know because I used to be a common, like a small town thief. And I went in and out of jail a lot myself.
With as many times as I was in and out of jail, for the numerous different reasons between the SOR and driving on a suspended license and FOC, it's hard to keep a number on it.
Right. That's what I meant.
It becomes a blur.
And what I meant was because when I was involved in criminal activity, I would run into a lot of those issues, like driver's license. Like I wasn't responsible, so like I'd lose my license, and here I got to go to court, or they'd pick me up on going to court driving on a suspended license, and it just compounds. Yeah. When you're in that when you're a person that's involved in criminal activity, a lot of times you're not responsible, and when you get it just compounds, and you don't take care of you got to take care of the first one before you take care of the second one. So like, I went to court like for my children for I think it was 42 times. So like total. So
I've probably got between 20 and 30 times I've been in that jail.
Okay. So I can only imagine what it was like when it was compounding and you couldn't keep up with it.
I remember a time where I served like 5 days in jail, and I legit just got out. 10 minutes later, I was back in.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know what that's like. I mean, we have something here in
get
common.
Arrested walking away from the jail.
Yeah, that's basically what happened.
Yeah.
And the cop goes, "Oh, where are you coming from?" The county jail.
I mean,
guess what? You're going right back.
Turn around.
Damn.
Right. So like, when I say my kids, I meant between my criminal activity and my children with with the front of the court, 42 times. So like, I can only imagine the compound that you were getting from dealing with all this.
Yeah, it was
a lot
rough.
of people don't realize how you can't have a job going to court or going
Oh,
to
no.
jail that many times.
Yeah,
You
no.
just can't do it.
No employer can afford to keep you at that point.
No.
They got to depend on you, and if they can't depend on you being there every day,
Unless
even
you
if-
have
or
a third
even a
shift
di-
job,
yeah.
third shift job, you'd be able to swing it.
but even an employer that doesn't care about your criminal history, right? You still got to be there the next day. We employers depend on you being there, even if they don't care about your criminal background. You got to be there, and if they can't depend on you being there, they can't have you as an employee.
Screw your social life at that point too.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, there's no social life at that point in time. Not only that, who wants to date a pervert? So, but anyway, so it's things were bad. November 2011. He's homeless, and so he goes to the sheriff's department, tried to do the right thing, and he tells them, "Look, I'm homeless. I'm living in my Blazer right now for just a little bit until I can get things around, and I can get this job. I can get my first paycheck and a couple things, so I can get in a place." And they said, "Well, nope, sorry. One of the requirements of you being on the SOR is you have to maintain a residence. So in 10 days there'll be a warrant out for you." And sure enough, 10 days there was a warrant out for him.
Oh yeah.
So when that warrant came out, Andy was actually at his job. They came down to his job, and he went up to the court. His employer took him up to the courthouse for him to turn himself in. He turned himself in. He got another court-appointed attorney. Same deal. Plead no contest or 15 years in prison. So of course he doesn't want to go 15 years in prison. He just got a new job, right?
That's a felony when you don't have.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So that you got a second felony there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
so
Racking
he's-
them up.
Yeah. So he at that point in time, he gets another court-appointed attorney. Same deal. He's in front of Sanderson again. He tells Sanderson, "Look, I shouldn't be on that list, but I can't prove myself innocent." So he pled the no contest, which is exactly what the deal was that his court-appointed attorney worked out with Neil Brady. And
Well, that's what we're just reading, how Neil Brady was so involved. There's an article that Penny just brought up talking about Brady, how he was trying to remedy the situation.
Oh yeah, he wasn't
really?
trying to remedy anything.
I want to see that.
Yeah, he wasn't trying to
I
remedy
don't know if I've
anything.
seen this yet.
Yeah, it's a slap to you in the face. I
Yeah,
can tell you that.
that's because Neil Brady knew just how horrible this thing was, and that he didn't do anything.
It's
Oh.
the safe face to protect the system,
Absolutely.
right?
Well, he's an elected position, right? He's got to look good when he's at
Yeah,
the,
but you
at the
could.
exchange club.
I think he could look good by being humble and transparent too.
Yeah, and actually saying I'm sorry and really meaning it, right? But he doesn't. He doesn't care. And we saw that, especially when I took Andy up there one day, and we talked about something. And Neil actually went medieval on him and tried to verbally attack him. And we had witnesses there. We backed him down.
Was this before the second felony?
Well, this is no.
Well, this is-
Oh, this
why
was
we were
after.
going-
Yeah,
this is why we
way
were going
after.
through the
Yes.
ordeal with trying to
Okay.
get rid of habeas corpus.
Okay,
and
yeah.
the
Tell us the
6,500
story. Go
motions.
through the story, and we'll get to that. That's interesting.
So anyway, at that point in time, they gave Andy 180 days in jail,
Yep.
and his employer was there. His employer was the one that actually took him up to the courthouse and,
Man, 6 months.
for him to turn
Oh, yeah.
himself in. His employer said, "Look, I need him. Can he get work release?" So they said, "Yeah, we'll give you work
Is this
release."
McLean's mechanic shop?
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Dennis-
Hillsdale Tire and Auto at that point in
yeah,
time.
it was Hillsdale Tire and Auto at that point in time. It was Dennis McLean was his boss. And so they gave him work release. And so Andy would leave jail in the morning, go down to his work all day, and then go back to the jail and spend all night and all weekends. And of course, then that's where the story comes in January of 2015. I was in getting my truck work done, and Andy said, "Hey, can I talk to you?"
He was in there often getting his truck worked on.
It was
Yeah, did you see his blazer? That thing
It
was
was
a nightmare.
It was a Jimmy.
You both-
Give me a break.
Oh, my God.
It was what I could afford at the
He
time.
said it was a 2004. I thought it was a 94.
Stop it. It was in good shape. It
You mean
looked good.
84?
It looked good. It just had
Yeah.
bad parts.
It had looked like it went through a salt bath every year.
Yeah.
Hey. But so anyway,
They got him from point A to point B.
Yeah,
That's what
that's
matters.
exactly what it
most
did.
of the time.
Yeah.
most of the time is right. And so anyway, he pulled me off to the side, and that's where we started this saga. And so Andy, go ahead. I'll let you take it from there.
Well, let's see. I met with John. I pulled him into my office, and I told him my story. And I'm like, it may seem far-fetched, but what it is what it is. And he looked into it, and it was exactly how I said it. So we did everything. We filed the writs. judicial system here in Hillsdale didn't even want to accept it.
Yeah, that was the odd thing. I brought writ of habeas corpus in and handed it in to them, and they said, no, we won't take it because you're not a lawyer.
Well, leading up to that, before we jump any further, what you obviously you confined and rattan one way or another, because this is an embarrassing thing to talk about.
Right.
So,
and honestly, John was probably the first person that I ever stepped out of my shell. You know,
right.
I was always playing, a turtle inside of a shell. You know,
right.
I didn't ever want to come out. So I took that leap of faith, jumping off that cliff, and confided it into John and ran with it.
Yeah, well, I'm a firm believer the truth will set you free. And then John knows this from me because, I got my history as well. So being more transparent about it, it helped me therapeutically, I guess, if you will, to be more confident with myself.
Right.
But when you're talking about sex offending crimes, it's slightly different, right?
It's slightly different.
So
you've got to approach that very delicately.
We live in a big county that's a big...
it's a big lynch mob just on an accusation.
Right.
And now when we're seeing the feminist movement, that's
our county
is even worse now.
Our county is very religious, right?
Yeah,
it's a very religious county.
I would say so.
And it's very hard line religious right. And having a sex offense in Hillsdale County is socially you're not going to be accepted anywhere.
No, I mean it's probably
tough.
It's probably not socially accepted anywhere. You can hide in the city amongst crowds.
Well, yeah, there's certain crowds in the bigger cities that
I mean, I'm just saying you can hide behind
15,
a lot of people.
You're with 15
right?
other people.
There's 4 million people in the Metro Detroit area,
it's way easier to be a tree hiding in the forest.
Exactly.
For sure. Right.
It was. So, did you know John at that time was capable of handling your case?
I didn't, but being that he was prior service and worked for the state of Michigan, I figured, hey,
did you hear about the HJP beforehand?
Oh no.
But
no.
Dennis McLean knew that I was part of the HJP and one of the founding members.
Okay.
Dennis.
So just through acquaintance.
Yeah, Dennis McLean knew kind of what we did.
Okay.
But Dennis was always out making his money. You know. So.
Well, yeah. Nobody cares unless it happens to them. We all know that, right? So you didn't have anybody. We talked about this yesterday. There was nobody like supporting and helping you get through this.
Well, no. I mean, I had family members even look the other way on me.
Yeah, it's
they didn't even want to.
A lot of people just wash their hands of you.
Well, we get conditioned that if the authority said it, it must be true.
Right.
Yeah.
We're conditioned
for sure.
that the authority said it must be true. So I don't care what you said. The authorities get 10 truth points to your 1.
Even if I do know you.
Yeah, that's right.
If they said it, it must be wrong, right? Or it must be the way it is.
Yeah, well, they found something out that I didn't know nothing about.
That doesn't. Let's be fair. That doesn't make those people bad people.
No, that's not.
It's just a human. It's a human.
I'm actually
human thing.
I'm actually looking at the side of how sad it is how alone it is when you're on that island.
Yeah,
that really, because it can happen to any one of us in this room, right?
That's right.
And you get stuck on that island, and there's no bridge to help you. I can only, I've been there a couple times, but not to this degree.
But John, even with you, in the times you went to jail for the things that you were doing, it was a little different because you knew that you had done those things.
Right.
I mean,
there's a
let's
big
be
difference.
real.
No. Like that's what I said. I've never that's why I'm not hard on my cases dealing with the justice system. Right.
Because you knew it, and I've seen this before. I've seen the people that are they don't like where they're at, but they're okay with things to a certain point because they knew that they were guilty of what they were charged with.
Also, I always had friends and family that supported me. That that they knew that I'd probably grow out of it, and that's what essentially happened. And they're still my friends and family to this day. So I was fortunate enough to have a mother that no matter what happened, she was going to bail me out, or no matter what happened, she was going to help me pay my court fines. If I went to her for help.
You got a good mom.
Yeah.
He's got a great support.
Yeah.
So I had friends when I was going through all those license issues for several years. They would come pick me up, So I was fortunate to have that. I know not everybody has that, so I can only imagine being on an island by yourself. I think
Yeah, I didn't have
Well,
none
the-
of that.
the
until I
nature-
met John,
that was one of the
so-
things when I met Andy and we started into this. He had a suspended license, and he owed, to get his license back, he owed $5,000 at that point.
I think it was more than that.
Was it?
I think it was about
we did, 'cause
$7,500, almost.
well, I know
10
those
grand.
driver
I-
responsibility fees compounded.
Well, I put a chunk of money on it down, and we got it down to about 5,000, so that he could start paying
realistically get it down
so
yeah.
that we could get his
Yeah.
license back. But before we did that, I drove Andy everywhere he went.
I had
so
my
that,
private chauffeur.
so that
Andy,
he
after-
wouldn't get picked up again, so that they wouldn't target him again, so that we could get this. Because, I mean, we're dealing with a big thing here. We couldn't keep dealing with these little tiny, driving on.
Yeah, those
suspended
petty
driving,
offenses add up.
And when
we
I
just
got out
couldn't
of
do
jail, I became a target because
Right.
now I'm going against the
the grain.
the other man in blue. So everybody's
you're
bonding
now
together
they feel
here.
like you're attacking the thin
Well,
blue line,
the
right?
thing is, if I need 5 contacts because I'm being graded on the quantity of my contacts rather than the quality of my contacts, it was the name Andy Fether was easy.
I was
when
gonna
we
say-
pulled that up. Hey, I got my contact. We already know he's suspended.
Well, I was going to say
right?
public enemy number 1 probably becomes 5 contacts in one stop.
Right, and don't get me wrong. This is part of the problem in our law enforcement when we start grading our law enforcement on quantity rather than the quality of their contacts. This is what causes part of this problem within the criminal justice system. And it's not that the officers are bad. They're trying to do their job. They're trying to do what their leadership is telling you they have to do. It's a problem with leadership. We need to start grading them on their quality of their contacts, not the quantity.
And I
of the
talk-
contacts.
and give them back their discretionary powers.
Exactly.
Andy, I talk about this a lot on our shows because I'm real critical of law enforcement in general usually, and I'm always wondering, particularly
Because you're a bully.
Yeah, government employees and staff or elected officials, outside of getting reelected, how do we know that these people are doing good jobs? Where's the standard?
Well, you have to have a public that's not apathetic as well. You have to have a public that stops looking at personalities and parties and starts absolutely looking at the individual and asking questions and saying, is this the best? The other thing is we had in Hillsdale in 2016, we had 15 open seats in the county and only 3 contested races.
Yeah.
We
talk about this all the time.
We're beating that horse to death.
I've been watching.
So, okay, Andy, so you got your second felony. Everything's compounding. We digress. So where are we at?
We're at that point, what we did was we did a writ of habeas corpus.
Mm-hmm.
Andy signed that writ of habeas corpus that I helped him write. And
A lot of people don't even know what that is, just so you know, John. Most people won't.
A writ of habeas corpus, it's talked about in the Constitution. It's a Latin term
Layman.
that they use in law. And what writ of habeas corpus means is produce the body. That's what it literally means in Latin. And writ of habeas corpus, it was put in our Constitution after the Five Knights case in 1628, in which if you are being held without due process, you can file a writ with the court, which tells your captors to bring the body forward so that they can decide whether, in fact, you are being held legally or not.
This is actually brought up a lot in like law shows, or it's almost in pulp culture. They talk about this, but nobody really defines what it is.
Yeah.
Right, and to be quite honest, it was the first one that has ever been filed inside of Hillsdale County.
Oh wow!
At that point in time, it was the first one.
Well, does that go to show you what kind of?
I don't know if it was the first, but I think it was the first successful.
Or-
writ of habeas
well,
corpus.
Okay,
All
either
right.
way,
Uh,
do we see
either way,
Because writs of habeas corpus.
Do you see the
if you look at the history
quality
of them, there's not a lot
the
of them
quality
that are
of defense
successful.
attorneys in Hillsdale?
Yeah.
Does that capitalize on that a little bit with all the stuff that we see that go on negatively with law enforcement? You would think more of these would be filed.
Well,
not a lot of people know about it, though.
that's exactly
No,
it.
attorneys
When
know
most,
about it.
When most people
Well.
when most people don't even know that they have the right to remain silent, right? I love what Ron White says when he says, "I had the right to remain silent,
But
but
I
I
didn't
didn't
have the
possess the ability." Right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And it's not like you're if the defense attorney, which I've seen in my case with Kim Berger, just wants to plead this out real quick and get a quick $400 fine or whatever, and move on.
That's a lot of what all the public defenders want to do, because regardless, I don't know exactly, but let's just say they get paid $300.
Yeah,
And
whatever
they're
it
getting
is.
paid $300 regardless if it takes a day or 6 months.
Right.
So it's in their best interest to expedite
Yeah,
it.
it's one of
It's one of those
fields. It's one of those fields where same thing with doctors. A lot of times they got to provide a free service that they're forced upon, and whether they want to do it or not.
Right.
It's just one of those fields.
I mean, if you're getting paid $300, I doubt you'd want to spend 6 months building.
Well, it just depends on what you get in that industry for.
There's different ways.
If I'm getting in there to get rich, that's maybe they're going for the wrong reasons.
There's different ways to reform this system to make it more judicious and more fair. But it takes leadership that's going to make the hard choices and hard decisions to do that, right? And the problem is when we don't have any competition, it's really hard to find those leaders.
I mean, like, who's going to run against Neil Brady in our
decisions.
county? I mean, like,
Well, you have to have somebody, right?
Yeah, somebody's got to do it.
How many attorneys do we have in the county? 20?
Well, you've got politics that get played in the judicial system, which is a sad thing as well. You've got defense lawyers that aren't going to run against Neil Brady as prosecutor, because then the next time they go in front of him, he's going to be, what did he threaten Andy with? Well, we'll see how lenient I am next time you come before me. So
when the words get
and you get judges do the same thing. People go, well, I'm not going to run against a judge as long as it's a sitting judge until they decide they're going to retire, and then 5 people run for the position.
Yeah.
One person gets it, and everybody goes, okay, well, they'll run unopposed until they decide that they want to retire, right? This is not good. This doesn't spur competition. This doesn't make sure that we get the best of the best. This makes sure that we get long-standing.
Why do you think they have
dynasties.
Why do you think they have such control over their seats to the point where
because it's
like
a small
that?
community?
Mm-hmm.
You don't see this in Detroit. You don't see this in Chicago. You don't see this in New York. You don't see this in Baltimore. You don't see this in Austin.
I mean, what kind of respect would you have for those people when you see this happening? How do you have respect for those people when that's going on?
Well, and part of the problem is, our political system has devolved into no longer a fair gentleman or gentlewoman's sport of running for something. It becomes whoever can throw the most mud. It really has become.
And we know that through the sheriff campaign, right?
Well, yeah, and we've seen it. Judge Smith actually spurred it and promoted that in a way.
Oh yeah, with the
So we've got ourselves to blame for this.
So you wrote the writ.
So we wrote the writ of habeas corpus. I took it because Andy, of course, he can either be at the jail or at his job. That's it.
Yeah,
if he's anywhere else,
they told me I had to deliver it.
Wait, you had to deliver the writ?
I had to hand deliver it, but that was
that's
against the stipulation of my.
That's a setup, right? Because he can either be at the jail or at his job. If he's downtown at the court.
Oh,
That's
who said they?
Oh,
when
the courts. The court said that I would have to deliver that writ of habeas corpus myself.
What happened was I took the writ
or
of habeas,
a lawyer.
I took the writ of habeas corpus and I tried to turn it in. They said, you're not a lawyer. We can't take it from you.
Okay.
I said, okay, if I'm not a lawyer, you can't take it from me. How does it get turned into the court? They said, well, he has to bring it down here himself. And I said, well, we got a little problem, right? Because he's on work release, so he can either be at his job or at the jail. If he's down here, then he's an absconder at that point in time, right?
Right.
And they just kind of shrugged their shoulders like,
I said,
yeah,
that's the way it goes. And I said, well, how do we get this in? And they said, well, he has to write a letter to the judge and ask the judge. And I said, well, right here is his signature, and it says memorandum in support of the writ of habeas corpus. So memorandum by Black's Law Dictionary is a letter, is it not?
Were they lying
is that not a letter
to
the judge?
John was basically just a process server.
Regardless, were they lying, John?
Yeah, they were lying. It doesn't have to be a lawyer that turns in a writ of habeas corpus. There's no law that says a lawyer has to turn in a writ of habeas corpus.
Did you
the writ of
that
habeas corpus? Yes, I did. The writ of habeas corpus was signed by Andy. There was a memorandum in support of the habeas corpus, which was signed by Andy with Andy's name. I was just taking it to the court to drop it off.
Yep.
And so what happened was they refused it, and I looked up. There's a public act called Public Act 600.1314 that
Can you believe that, Penny? They refused that.
So,
for a week.
So for a week. And so I looked up a public act. It was called Public Act 600.1314. It says, very simply, it says, any judge in the state of Michigan that refuses to accept or consider a writ of habeas corpus is guilty of malfeasance from the bench.
So the judge refused it. I'm thinking like the window.
I didn't get
clerk.
to talk to the judge. They wouldn't let me talk to
Yeah,
the
so
judge.
the window clerk, right?
Well, it was the magistrate at the time.
Oh, you talked to almost like a judge.
Yeah, I talked to the magistrate, which is the district court administrator.
I was gonna say, okay. So the magistrate don't have a judge ticket like a
No,
or title.
The magistrate is the magistrate. They're the referee. So anyway, I took it to the magistrate. The magistrate said, "No, we're not going to take it." I said, "Can I see the judge?" "No, you can't see the judge. You can't talk to the judge. You can't look at the judge. You can't do anything unless you're in the courtroom, ordered by the judge to be in the courtroom." I said, "Well, that's kind of odd because I voted for this judge and I actually supported this judge, and I find it odd that I can't see this judge."
And by judge, this is in 2015. So this was Sarah Lisney.
Yeah, Sarah Lisney.
She had just came into office.
Yeah.
Okay. Didn't you have a direct line to her, John?
No, I did not. And so what I did was I contacted Scott Wiley, who happened to be working for, at that time, Eric Lloydhäuser. He was manning Eric Lloydhäuser's office. And I called Scott Wiley, and he said, "Scott, I have a problem here." I said, "I've got a gentleman that's in jail and shouldn't be." And I said, "I'm trying to deliver a writ of habeas corpus to the district court, and the district court keeps refusing it." And I said, "Now, I hate that I'm going to have to do this because I support Sarah Lisney, and I voted for Sarah Lisney. But the fact of the matter is, Public Act 600.1314 says," and I told him, and I said, so he goes, "Well, that's not a legislative thing. Legislature's different than the judiciary." I said, "I understand that, Scott." I said, "But maybe somebody from your office can call and they'll listen to you because they're not going to listen to me." I said, "But if they do not take this writ of habeas corpus, I have no other recourse than to file under Public Act 600.1314.
Yeah, right. I understand. You have no other choice but to sue or to move that forward, right?
And I don't want to do that.
And then people are going to marginalize you for doing that.
And I didn't want to do that. I said, we just want to do the writ of habeas corpus.
Wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt.
So as soon as we did that, somebody did contact the courthouse, because right away then they contacted Andy and they said, oh, get that down to us right away. So I said, okay. So I took the writ of habeas corpus down there. We filed it. I said, "Now, can I have a hearing date?" "No, sorry, our scheduler's out." I said, "So you can't give me a hearing date?" "No, can't."
And it's already 10 days that you've been sitting waiting on that.
Well, it hasn't been 10. It's been like 4 days at that point in time.
Yeah, something like that.
Either way, it's 4 days that you're sitting in jail.
So I said, "You can't give me a hearing date?" "No." "When will your scheduler be in?" "Well, our schedule will be in at about 2 o'clock. And I said, "Okay, if I come in at 2:30, can I get a date?" "Yeah, you can come in at 2:30. So I came back in at 2:30 and I said, "Do we have a date?" No, we don't have a date for you." I said, "So we don't have a date to hear this writ of habeas corpus? We got a gentleman that's in jail. This shouldn't be in jail."
Yeah, there's no urgency here.
No. All we want is a hearing.
Let's just drag them out a little bit longer.
All we want is a hearing on the writ of habeas corpus.
Well, they wanted to keep me in jail because I had to pay for my stay.
Well, I was going to say, at this point, it's mud on everybody's faces, right? So now this is.
It doesn't have to be.
This is punishment, right?
It doesn't have to be.
Yeah, but this is what this I've seen it. This is what happens.
That's right. And so what happened was I again brought up 600.1314. When that happened, then Andy got a call at his work and said, "Oh, by the way, you have a hearing. Was it Tuesday at?"
Nah, I can't remember.
Monday or Tuesday at 2 o'clock.
Right.
So of course he was in jail for the weekend again. And that next week rolled around, and as soon as the writ of habeas corpus was heard, Sarah Lisney said release him. She issued an order of release. She said release him from jail.
That was fun too.
This man shouldn't be in jail.
So what was that like? You saying that's fun? What was wrong?
The district court forgot to send the paperwork up to the sheriff's department, so I showed up with my copy, and they were scratching their heads like, "Oh, we didn't get no." We didn't get this memo. And I'm like, "Well, right there it is. There's your memo."
"We can't just release you. You got to sign back in." He said, "Well, I got this paper."
You better make a phone call.
So they sent him in the booking room, and he sat in the booking room for how many hours?
It wasn't hours. They tried offering me dinner. I think it was spaghetti that
Yeah,
night.
that's
but
right.
I didn't want that.
So even if it was an hour, I
was it
mean,
separate?
It was about an hour.
But they had to
45
call
minutes
to the
an hour.
district court.
well, they probably had to run his lien too.
Yeah, district court. They had to
Yeah.
do all that stuff. Then they had
Because they
to
got to
send the
release
paperwork
you.
up there.
Every time when I got released from jail, I went back to jail for a couple hours, and then it took, particularly in Detroit, it's real long.
Oh yeah, 'cause they got quite a clientele up there. And so anyway, we got him released on that. But then of course, again, now we're dealing with 2 felonies that are on his record.
Yeah, it's not over with here.
Yeah, it's long way from being over.
long way.
It's still not
Long way
over
from
with.
being over. No, it's not
Nope.
even close to being over. And so again, we had to get rid of the 2 technical felonies. And what had happened was, we at this point in time now, we need a lawyer to argue his case, right?
Yep.
Well, now you're starting to see the light, though. At this point, I'm assuming.
He's starting to be a little excited.
Yeah,
he was a
don't
little
even
excited.
try it.
He was a little excited, and so
Thank you, Mr. Retainer.
but it cost
Thank you.
money, so we had to come up with about $5,000, and we hired a gentleman out of Ann Arbor his name was Wilson Tanner out of Ann Arbor, and it cost $5,000. We hired him. He came down, and I actually wrote the 6,500 motion for Bill because I'd been into the case so deep.
You don't have a bar ticket, John.
No, I know I didn't.
Don't say that on air anymore.
That's the truth. I wrote the motion. Bill looked it over and put his name on it.
Okay.
So because
We
Bill
were
was going
trying to cut
argue
out some lawyer fees.
That's right.
We
I
were
know.
broke.
And
I know.
Bill
We're
had already seen my writing, and he said I don't have a problem with that. He said because I'm still going to put my name on it, so I'm still going to read it, and I'm still going to see whether it's right or wrong, right? So he still did that. Now the reason why Bill would rather have me write it than him write it was because I was so intimately involved in the case. I knew all of the nuances, right? And I had all of the exhibits, A through
You had the
A
case
through
already
G.
built.
I think we had double digits in there. Or
So-
double letters.
So anyway, so Bill did that. He took it to court. We never even got in the courtroom because in the judge's chambers with Neil Brady and the lawyer Wilson Tanner, Neil agreed that he would have the two felony convictions thrown out. One of the other stipulations that were on the 6,500 motion was that they had to take him off the sex offenders registry.
I was going to ask that.
Well,
yeah.
John, it was a little weirder than that because
More weird.
Is
Is that a word? Weirder.
More weird.
Okay.
more weird? Whatever.
It was bizarro world.
All right.
It was
So,
bizarre.
something strange happened that day.
Something strange happened on
And-
the way to the forum.
And Wilson, my lawyer, comes out and says, well, this is what Neil Brady wants to do. He wants to turn back time.
Well, let me get to that point. Yeah, he said. So one of the things is we wanted.
This
we
is our
wanted
county
them to take-
prosecutor. by
Yeah,
the
we
way.
wanted them to
Yeah.
take him off the sex offenders registry, and Neil said no, he wouldn't do that. He didn't know how. So Neil said, "Here's what we want to do. We'll go ahead and drop the 2 technical felonies, but then we want to recharge him and bring him into court so that he can be found.
What?
So that he
So
can be
he can
found
be
not
innocent.
guilty. So that we
Make
can
a fake court
so
date,
that we can take
fake
him-
court time
take
and a
him
fake
off.
fake judgment.
right. So
How bizarre
it
is
was
that?
it was bizarre.
That's more weirder.
That is more weird. That is weirder.
See, I told you. It was weirder.
That's bizarre, John.
Yeah,
Have
it
you ever
was-
heard of it outside of this particular case?
We're going to rewrite history.
You know, we've seen a lot of cases. I mean, I've seen a lot of cases personally from my experience. I've never heard of anything of that sort.
Yeah,
Have
we
you?
were.
What did the attorney think of that?
Well, I mean, it sounded great. It
Yeah.
sounded great.
So we said, okay, well then we're waiting.
Okay,
So-
whatever we got to do, you
So
know.
we're waiting. and
Oh,
we're
she
waiting,
just went with it,
we're
huh?
waiting, and we didn't hear. There weren't any charges filed, and so we contact Wilson Tanner again, and he contacts Neil Brady, and he comes back to us and goes, well, he hasn't filed any charges yet. Well, what do we do? And he's still on sex offenders registry. Well,
At
we
that
don't
time,
know.
Andy, did you still have to go comply with all that stuff on the list?
I didn't, due to the fact that the sheriff's department knew me. I was out on probation at the time too, so like I did my ritual right when I got out of jail. I contacted a probation officer, and I forget who ended up stepping in.
What were you on probation for?
Well, I was a felon. I had a year of probation as well,
Oh, so
On top of all.
so
on
you
top
had-
of the jail.
So you had to comply with Well, I thought you were getting rid of the double felony stuff. Oh, but it wasn't gone yet.
It wasn't gone yet.
See, everything's just kind of hanging.
So you had probation. What about the probation fees?
It was like purgatory.
Did they give you back your probation fee money?
Well, I didn't. I don't think I ever paid anything.
No. All the money you paid, you didn't get back because that was one of the stipulations we had on the 6500 motion. They wouldn't agree to give any of the money back either. Wouldn't give any of the money back.
Ain't that some shit?
Yeah, Neil Brady said no to giving any of the money back.
As soon as I got out of jail, though, it was time for me to contact my probation officer and let him know everything that was going on. He's all like, "Well, why are you calling me?" He's like, "Don't worry about it. You ain't ever going to call me again."
I've had probation officers like, "Why you got to do drug testing?" I'm like, "For child support?" I'm like, "I don't know. I never done drugs." You know, like you tell me, they're like, "Okay, we're just going to eliminate that."
Right.
You know.
Well, we got a case right now of a guy that because of an issue, and they put on the probation, and he runs a company, and so now he's got to look at the color wheel, and he's got to take time off work. He's got to go do all this stuff, and there's no need for him to do drug testing other than
they put it on every case now, John.
Yeah,
every
because
case.
It's Jack. It's money coming in.
It's a system to make
more
money.
Because you as the individual has to pay for that.
Yeah, it's like $50 or whatever it
is.
is.
Plus, we can justify to the taxpayers, oh, look at all these horrible people on drugs. We need to have more money.
Yeah.
We need to have more money. But anyway, we digress. That's a different case. But so we're in bizarro world now, right? We're in purgatory.
You've got this probation, non-probation thing.
Yeah, he's had the technical felonies thrown out. The writ of habeas corpus. He's been released from jail, but he's still not off the sex offenders registry. And so we're in this limbo. We're waiting for Neil Brady to file new charges.
And since he's not doing the SOR requirements,
so
he could be in violation of his probation.
That's right. And we're coming up time for him to report again.
Yeah, but that's what you guys were thinking.
And we don't know where we're at, right?
Yeah, that's what you guys were thinking.
So that's one of the things. We wanted a meeting with Neil Brady. And that's what I told you earlier. And so we had a meeting with Neil Brady, and I said, you know what, we're not going to go up there without witnesses.
Yep.
Yeah,
and this was in the beginning of 2015.
Yeah. Well, no, this was in the middle. This was this was right around June of 2015.
I think it was like March or April.
No, that's when we got
matter.
That's when we got the charges thrown out. But anyway, so that was another thing. We went up there and we wanted to know why Neil wouldn't take him off the thing, why he wouldn't pay his money back. And Neil basically attacked him and told him it's because he's a horrible individual and he had it coming. What he had coming, he had coming.
Yeah.
He said, you brought all this on yourself.
Well, how did you bring it all on yourself?
Well, because obviously he didn't go along with the program, right? He brought all this on himself.
What do you mean he didn't go along with the program? What's that even mean?
I failed to comply with the SOR.
Yeah. So it's I don't even want to relive it.
No, I know. Like,
I don't even want to
That's what I'm saying.
it.
Like, that's enough. Like, so like right now I'm irate, right? Like I'm ready to fight.
Well,
so,
see, that's exactly how it was kind of playing out because Neil, I scheduled a meeting with Neil. John went up with me.
The audacity.
John went up with me. I think Dennis Wayne Scott was with us.
And we had Gary Sherman.
Sherman and what's the other guy's
Richard
name?
Wunsch.
Yeah, Richard.
You couldn't get through those guys? Come on, man.
Well, see, we went up there that way. There was multiple witnesses.
Yeah, we wanted multiple
because
people.
I already knew how
I would have caught another charge.
How the words can get misconstrued. And I'm like, Neil, I lost family time. I lost time away from my kids. And he's like, well, I was balling up my fists. I was ready to knock him out.
His arrogance.
Yeah.
And
I kind of stepped in the middle and said, hey, let's calm it down here a little.
What do you call that? Contempt of prosecuting attorney? I mean, like that attitude.
It was just wrong.
Here, he knows you got screwed
wrong.
too.
Oh yeah.
He knows you just got screwed by the system big
he
time.
He doesn't care.
He
didn't care.
Exactly.
That
he was one of the ones that was screwing me.
You're pissed off, and I'm pissed off because he doesn't care.
Right.
He didn't care.
I'm sorry. It's not like I'm sorry. I don't know what I could do. None of that.
He didn't even have to do that. If he could have just said, Andy, I'm sorry what you went through.
That shouldn't have happened.
I'm going to do anything in my power to help right this wrong.
Yeah.
But no, he didn't give it.
He didn't care.
John, we don't have many people in our justice system that acts like that either. Yeah, that's why we're so vigilant at what we're doing here because of that attitude.
Yeah, these are the things that keep me awake at night.
And I'm not here to bash Neil. Overall, I like him. I mean, we all make mistakes.
You're a better man than me, dog.
Well, forgive and forget.
Okay.
Yeah, here's the thing. Neil's not a horrible person. I think in other circumstances, Neil and I could sit down and be friends and have a beer and lie to one another.
I guess.
I mean, I just think I don't think he's a horrible person. I think
he's made some bad choices.
I think the system has created monsters, and the monsters don't even realize they're the monsters, right? I stared into the abyss, and I saw myself looking back.
Yeah.
They just don't.
If I went through that situation,
they just don't know that they're the monsters.
Like I said, you're a better man than me because I don't know. I mean, I'm a forgiving person. I'm a tolerant person. But when someone has that type of,
but I mean, to an extent, he helped me out. You know what I mean? He made those felonies disappear.
Yeah, he's supposed to though.
But in the same sense, he didn't.
It's
care.
not kudos because he did his job.
Well, he didn't have to do it.
Penny, you're an emotional woman. How would that have gone with you? How would you feel about that?
I'd be pissed.
You wouldn't just forgive and forget at that point, probably, would you?
No.
Well,
God bless you, Andy. Seriously.
But
sometimes it takes a bigger person. You know what I mean?
That. I understand.
But it was. I mean, I can't even imagine what Andy went through.
Yeah, right.
It's taken some time for me to want to forgive Neil.
It was tough. It was tough on me just going through that and realizing that this man was innocent.
When you watch
it was horrible.
There's a lot of movies where like the hurricane, where you see people go to jail for innocent people go to jail, or even like court cases like People versus Larry Flint, and you always see like the attorney side, and you always see the guy that's being injured side, the one that's either in jail or going through the system, and there's always a point in the movie where they'll get in a heated argument, and it always comes down to where the guy that's in jail is like, you're not in jail, to the attorney's crying victim, or the guy that's helping him is crying victim, you're not helping me, this is a hard case, you don't understand. The guy's like, listen, I'm the one in jail.
Right.
Like I can imagine there's probably moments like that.
There's a movie that
well, that's kind of how it went. When we spoke to Neil one-on-one.
Yeah, there's a movie that I have a hard time watching, and that was with Tom Selleck, in which
Innocent Man.
Innocent Man, where his wife gets killed.
I love that
and
movie.
He didn't do it. I can't watch that movie because of the injustice. It just tears me to pieces.
Yeah, and in that movie you had that black cop that was awesome in it, that he wanted to get justice. He was a sweet character. I never seen him in an actor in another movie. I like that guy.
Yeah.
Not make up charges. Rewrite history, basically.
Just redo the case.
Oh,
kind of a redo.
Yeah, rewrite charges there, Penny. Yeah, well, I don't care what you say. It's so bizarre. Yeah. You can say whatever it is. Fairy tale charges.
Eliminate the past. That never happened, but now we're going to say it happened, and we're going to re-prosecute you.
We're going to recharge just so that we can. But and here, let me qualify this. During this time when we're in purgatory and limbo here, I didn't know what to do. So I was doing all the research I could. I was calling. The lawyer said, well, why don't you call up to the state and talk to the state court administrator? I said, good idea. So I called up, and I just happened to get a hold of the state court administrator, not one of his secretaries. And I'm talking to the state court administrator, and he goes, well, he said, to get him off the list, you have to petition. Just fill out the petition to get him off the list. And I said, well, but there's a problem there. He goes, what's the problem? I said, the petition requires that we give the original court order ordering him
on the list.
Onto the list. And he goes, yeah, what's the problem? I said, there isn't one. He goes, that's impossible. Nobody can be on that list without a court order. I said, I'm here to tell you, I've got a man here that's on that list and never had a court order be put on the list. I said, I can send you the report. He was pre-registered on the list by Melissa Marinoff. He goes, holy crap. He said, there's no provision in the law to get him off the list. I don't know how. I don't know how to get him off the list. And I said, oh, that's just what I wanted to hear. So I'm going along with this. Well, the only way to get him off the list is to charge him, right? And so we fought, and we didn't know what to do. Finally, we were at the fair in 2015. So it's end of September 2015.
Yep.
And I was going around trying to drum up some support for some money, because I figured we were going to have to sue or do something, right? And because here,
talk about a $50,000 case.
Yeah, Andy's in limbo. We don't know what to do. So I happened to be talking to the Jonesville American Legion at the time. I figured, hey, veterans would throw in. No, No, they didn't want anything to do with it. Renee,
Because of the stigmatism that came with sex offender.
Right.
Renee, I can't remember her last name. She's with the Veterans Administration.
Handy.
She's the.
When you were going through all that, did you think about the idea of like, I'm gonna knock some of these out, like I want to kill some of these guys?
Stop! Don't.
I
even-
thought I had those thoughts when I was
Don't-
going through my criminal cases myself.
Honestly,
man. Like, it changes you psychologically.
it does. And
At the moment, at least, temporarily.
did that sound good to? I mean, but then I'd be facing murder charges.
Well,
then I'd be,
Last night you were talking, and it got kind of teary-eyed. But I mean, like
It did.
when you start thinking about the ideas of suicide.
Yeah, I contemplated suicide more than anything.
These are the things
when I
that-
was going through all this. But once I met John and I
Started seeing
to see the light, those feelings went away. I didn't want to.
You're emotionally strong. A lot of people would probably have a harder time going through
Army
that.
training. Sir.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the Army.
Army training. Sir.
Yeah, I mean, because I can only imagine. Because I went through, petty stuff compared to what you went through.
I mean, I did 5 years on that list.
Yeah.
I got to a point where I was just emotionally numb, I guess you could say.
Yeah, that's tough, man. And when you're meeting a new girl, man, what do you say on something like that?
Oh, you hide that shit for a minute.
Yeah, till they get to know
that's
you.
not the open line.
You try to sell
like,
it on
hey,
them.
nice to meet you. I'm a registered sex offender.
Yeah. Here's my card. Here's my card.
I'd like to take you out to dinner later.
Hey, have you seen my famous picture?
I'd like to take you out to dinner, but it can't be near a school.
Yeah. Got to be a 500 feet or 1,000 feet, whatever it was, away from school.
But anyway, I can't remember.
That definitely wasn't an opening line.
I
Right.
can't remember Renee's name. She's with the Veterans Administration right now, but she's,
She's with the Veterans Affairs upstairs on the
she's the
second
head
floor
of
of the
it now.
courhouse.
Oh, is this that woman that was that I was talking to with Steve's friend and
Yeah,
his mom?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Why can't I think of her last name?
It was.
I don't remember it either.
Crap.
But
Anyway,
either way,
she was there and she was talking and she said, all you got to do is have the prosecuting attorney having taken off the list. And I said, no, Renee, it's not like that. Trust me, I've had a lawyer talk to these people and they need to recharge you.
yeah, go ahead and do it, Renee.
And she goes, well, all I have to do is make a phone call. And I said, well, then do it. What's stopping you? Just do it.
Yeah.
And so she did. She made the phone call and she come down. And of course, then Rod Hassinger got mad and he said, well, all we got to do is write up an order and send it to the judge and have the judge sign it.
Well, do it. Right.
So he did.
Yep.
And we got him off the list. And I was like, you're kidding me.
Well, no,
we went through all
wasn't.
of
I
Oh.
wasn't off the list that quick because Renee also called the SOR and said,
Yeah.
"Hey, I heard if you have this order signed, he'll be off that list." And they sent her emails and said, "Oh yeah, as soon as we get that
Alls we have
court
to have.
paperwork, he'll be immediately released from that list." And she says, "Okay, I'm going to call you back." And once she got the order signed by the judge, she called them and faxed that paperwork and said, "I'm faxing it right now." And they said, "Oh, yep, we got it." And she goes, "Is his name off that list?" "No, we have 24 hours to review that document."
just to
Oh.
verify sure
Verify
that
it.
it's real.
So it wasn't until
Okay.
the following day she was told.
But still,
They
She
said,
was told to call back
We'll let you. No, they
the
said
next
we'll
day.
let you know in 24
It
hours.
was this-
24 hours went by. We didn't hear, and so I put 5 calls in to Marcy Kelly myself.
Well, Renee called. Renee had
Yeah.
called them and said, "What's going on?" "Well, we can't talk to you. You're not as power of it." And Renee's standing right next to John at the fair.
Yeah.
And then
She said, "I got his power of attorney right here."
and then they go, "Well, we need to contact his power of attorney, John."
Call him right now. He's
so
right
they
here.
called him,
Yeah, right next to her.
and it was October 2nd at about 3:30 or so
Yeah, about
that
3:30
we got
in the
that phone
afternoon.
call saying that I was removed.
it was that simple to get removed off the
Yeah,
list.
isn't that
after
crazy?
all this?
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? And of course, Neil's going all this. Oh no, we got to re-prosecute. We got to. That's the only way. And he could have agreed to that stipulation right in the writ of habeas corpus, or
We
right in the
tried to get
stipulation
him-
that was in the 6500 motion.
Yeah, we tried.
All he had to do was agree to the stipulation and do it.
But see, when we went in with those, he took his what do they call that? The discretionary power not to prosecute me.
Yeah, that was the whole thing. He said, "Well, wait a minute. You agreed to re-prosecute him so that we could get this done." Well, he was taking his prosecutorial discretion to not prosecute. And we're like, so here, Andy's
Now we're
on
at
the
a stalemate.
So Andy's on this list for about 6 more months that he could have been taken off the list. This is the sheer. Well, we'll teach you. We'll teach you for being innocent.
We'll teach you for fighting.
Fighting back, right?
Yeah. You kicked us in the face.
We'll teach you for being innocent.
You kicked us in the stomach, so we're getting you back.
But see, here's part of this. Part of this mentality.
The punishment mentality.
Well, yeah, part of this mentality is and I won't say the names on air, but in the
I hope I know him, so I'll say it.
Oh, I'll say it too if I know him.
It was during the Anthony Hart case, and Anthony did 16 months in prison as an innocent man, and one of the sergeants at the sheriff's department said, "Man, that's rough. Here's an innocent man went to prison for 16 months." And the other individual looked at him and said, "Doesn't matter. He's a dirtbag. He had it coming anyway." He said, "Even if he was innocent," he goes, "he had it coming anyway. He's a dirtbag." So this is that mentality that we don't care if you're innocent. We think you're a dirtbag, so we think you should have spent that much time. What happened to jurisprudence? What happened to what happened to the Constitution?
Well, a lot of that's not even relevant in today's reality. Let's be fair, John. So I mean, because I see it on Facebook, social media all the time. When something happens, everybody has an opinion on what the punishment should be for that person, and that's the same concept. It's the same idea. So a lot of times it's there's no due process. It's just totally. And they think of that of us too. Like even like with this undersheriff thing that happened, they're thinking we're passing judgment. No, we're asking for an outside independent investigation.
Yeah, I was asking for due process, right? Because due process is just as important to Carl as it is to the citizenry.
All these people are like, you shouldn't judge and things. We're not judging. We want an outside investigation so we can judge.
No, I want an outside investigation so I don't have to, right?
That's what I'm saying. I mean, this is ridiculous. So what they'll do is use that reverse psychology almost, or what do you call that, where you're projecting.
Yeah, it's projection.
Yeah, they'll use projection on us.
Yeah.
In reverse, and think that we are making a big stink out of something.
Well, that's just like the one thing that really kind of stuck in my craw at the last county board meeting. My brother and I were there, and of course, they usually have Pledge of Allegiance and then prayer. And Mark Wiley decided he would read a couple passages from the Bible, and the two passages that he read was, let those among you without sin cast the first stone. And what was the other one, Penny, that he read?
I don't think Penny was
Judge not lest ye be judged. Yeah. That was the other one.
Yeah,
but
cliche stuff.
But there's a couple other ones that Carl forgot to read, and that is what you've done unto the least of my brother, and you've done unto me. I'm sorry, Mark. What'd I say?
Yeah. You said Carl.
Oh, I'm Mark Wiley. What you've done unto the least of my brother, and you've done unto me. He forgot that one. The other one he forgot was you can tell a tree by the fruit that it bears. Right?
Yeah.
He forgot those passages. Oddly enough, I thought that was strange.
I should have afterwards asked him why he said those.
Oh, we all know why he said those things, right?
That would have been kind of funny, awkward situation.
Especially
right?
when my brother and I were talking, he couldn't even look us in the face.
Well, we're not even done. This is still going on. We're not even done with the story, right? So
no, there's still a lot.
So go
more.
ahead. Let's go ahead. Let's do more.
Oh. What's our time? Where are we at right
now? We're doing good. We got an hour and a half. This is a 2-hour subject, right?
Well, it could be 3 or 4. I mean, how long do you want to make it?
Well, it's going to be a 2-hour process.
Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to kind of back off here and let Andy tell the rest of the story.
Because Andy was telling it and you cut in with the writ. So
I'm sorry. I was just. But anyway, so we've got.
He told me to take over, and then he grabbed them reins right out.
Go ahead. Get up on top of this.
We've got him off the SOR. And it's now October of 2015.
Yeah, October 2nd, 2015.
I'm going to let Andy take it from here.
That was a special day. You remember the day?
Oh, I remember the day because
it's like one of those catastrophic days, like 9/11 day or JFK day.
I've always been able to remember that day because it should have been the first, and that day is always played. The first has always been, ever since 2013, a very special day for me anyway. Yeah. In October 1st of 2013, I actually lost my father. So this happening around the 1st was on my...
He didn't get to see you get off this.
No, but
he
happened.
Died.
It happened basically on his anniversary of his death of 2 years.
He went to the grave with this on your back.
Right.
You know, think about. I want the listeners to really let that set in. You know, your father. Yeah, that he went to the grave not knowing.
Right.
You know, without you having the proper due process.
Yep.
That is, you can't get that back.
No,
You know?
I can't get a lot of things back.
How Penny, how sad did that even sound? It's Jesus. I'm sorry, man.
But I mean, I lost time with my kids. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things that
You can't get back.
that people don't understand. Go with
You saying that they will understand?
No, they
just don't. They're not
understand.
thinking of it clearly,
or they
particularly when it's
don't,
going on.
They can empathize, but they can never sympathize because
Exactly.
they weren't there.
Yeah, you don't.
Well, I don't think you have to experience everything to understand everything. So
Well,
like,
that's empathy.
you know, I'm just saying, like, I don't smoke cigarettes, and I know what it's like to smoke cigarettes. So there are some things that I think people can not necessarily relate, but they'll be like, wow, that's horrible, right?
Right, but they don't know to the extent of how horrible it is.
Why would you want them to? You know, you don't want them to.
Here,
But I don't want you
wait,
making
wait.
an assumption of how my life was.
I understand.
People in the criminal justice system
God, what a
do
dynamic
need to know what it's like.
What a dynamic situation.
They
you know?
need to know really what it's like, because if they did, they wouldn't make these
quick assumptions or quick.
it's just
accusations.
It's just my job for this next 5 minutes. But this man's got to live with it for the rest of his life.
You people that work within the system that are really screwing up.
They really need to understand.
Yeah, they're just a statistic
Yeah.
at that point for them.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm just another
not-
notch in the belt, you know. Oh, we got another bad guy off the street.
So October 2nd, you remember the day really well.
Oh yeah, October 2nd, day after my father's
so
death.
what happened next?
Well, let's see. I John turned me on to the Justice Project, Hillsdale Justice Project. At that time, they were at the bookstore across the street here from where we're now located. I started going there, and all throughout this, I finally got my license restored. So now I'm driving around.
Now you feel like a human, right? Like
I'm starting
an adult.
Not exactly feeling like a human. I'm starting to feel.
So this was in your late 20s.
Yeah.
He's still getting pulled over every time he tries to go home or go to work.
I was what, 20, 29?
Okay.
29, 30-ish. I don't know.
Right.
I'm 33 now, so
right.
Whatever it was back in 16, yeah. So I would have been 30. But I mean, I'm, trying to get back into the routine of things, and
sure.
I'm not on this list anymore, so now I can find a job and
a girlfriend.
Later on. It wasn't until, I started.
First things first.
Well, some people put priorities differently.
That's why I said it earlier. You said ironically.
Penny said I'm cutting them off. Go ahead.
But I started going to the Justice Project, and John had, I supported John, and I wanted to do what I could to help out. And so I started going there, which is ironically where I met my now wife.
Cool.
So I met her, and
he met a spectacular person. Who is now his wife.
I did. She's amazing. I love her to death. But I mean, we had started talking and hanging out, and nothing never really came of anything all too soon until March. But after I got out of jail, after John helped me get out of jail, I was getting threats from local law enforcement.
Now, when you say threats, can you give me an example?
Let's see. Am I allowed to name names?
You could do whatever you want.
I can do whatever I want.
But you just so you, I want to give this disclaimer about you're under a lawsuit still. So
I am
don't
under
want
a lawsuit.
I just don't know how far you can go without jeopardizing your guys' lawsuit at this point.
Yeah, this is true. Maybe I won't name names.
The truth is the truth.
I don't know how things work litigiously, John. So
here's the thing. You can never get in trouble telling the truth.
Okay. Well, whatever you feel comfortable with.
Well, I mean,
I would like to know what like, if you're getting really, honestly, if you're getting threatened and various different things, I'd like to hear what that really is.
Well, I mean,
and then it's not bad to name the person, because now if that person is accused another time, these add up to where they can't deny it after so many times.
Well,
so.
I mean, a lot of these threats, my lawyer already knows about.
Of course.
Okay. So,
I'm assuming it's all in your lawsuit.
Well, one of them is.
Okay.
One of them's not.
So you got out in October. When did these things started going on?
The threats happened immediately right after I got out of jail. I was walking on private property in the Hillsdale bowling alley.
Okay, over at Steve's place?
Yeah. If Steve owns it, I don't know who the hell owns it.
I think that's his name.
But right there at the Hillsdale bowling alley, I was walking through their parking lot because at that time I didn't have a license back yet. So I'm walking. And Todd Holtz drives onto private property.
Yeah, he was a sheriff at that time, wasn't he?
No. Todd Holtz has always worked for
Oh, he's always worked for the city. Who went from the sheriff to the city, John? Real quick.
I don't know.
Okay, never mind.
Let's
Go
let
ahead.
Andy tell us.
But anyway, Todd Holtz pulls me over, and this man doesn't like me. I don't know why he has such a problem with me or whatnot, but he had went out of his way and pulled onto private property when this place isn't even open. Like the bowling alley was closed, and he pulls up and he goes, Mr. Fether, and I go.
So he knew who you were.
Oh,
which is a targeting situation, John, which we know is wrong.
Yeah,
right. He pulls onto private property, rolls his window down, stops me, and says, "I'm just here to let you know I heard how big of a piece of shit you are, and if you ever go back to jail, I will see to it that you don't get work release."
Todd Holtz said this.
Todd Holtz.
Now, did you file a complaint at that time?
I didn't because I didn't.
It's common that people don't.
I didn't know the system. I was just still excited that I got
the man's
off.
already been bit once.
Yeah,
right.
He's still suffering the bite.
But I immediately started receiving threats, and then even after I got my license back, I was getting pulled over, and that's what brings me into meet my now wife. When we started dating and stuff, we'd be out driving out to dinner. I'd be getting pulled over by state police.
She was in the car when you were getting pulled over quite often?
And she started video recording all these encounters, and it was kind of ironic. Every time I got pulled over, the Hillsdale County Sheriff's Office didn't mess with me. More than likely because they got the memo, let's leave this guy alone. With everything going on.
Kudos to the Sheriff's Department for doing their job,
off.
right?
I don't know. It's only, my thought.
Well, that and they were the ones that saw the writ of habeas corpus come
right.
Right.
So, maybe they were just leaving me alone. They didn't want any more heat on them.
Well,
but all my heat was coming from Michigan State Police,
which they have authority over.
So
in our county.
My thought is they knew I was going after, I was going to end up going after their fellow trooper.
So you feel that
Trooper
this
Hurst.
was blowback for you getting out and starting to create a lawsuit against them, that this is how they retaliate.
It seemed to be that way.
At least you felt that way.
Right. Every time I pull out of my driveway, there's 3 state cops at the end of Goose Lake Road. And anybody who knows Hillsdale County, the end of Concord Road, you got Goose Lake Road. That separates Hillsdale County from Jackson County.
When this was going on, did you express it to anybody other than John that this was going on? Did a lot of people know about this?
Yeah, John helped him write 6 internal affairs complaints. Yeah.
Oh, really? You did file.
Yeah.
You filed the complaints on these officers.
On the state police.
Because every time I got pulled over, I said, "John, I'm getting pulled over," and it was always the same trooper.
He would call you up and say, "Hey, John, it's again."
It was always the same trooper.
Oh,
Todd Moore from the Michigan State Police. He would always pull.
Not Todd Moore. His name is Trooper Moore. I can't remember what his first name is.
No, Todd's in the sheriff department.
Trooper Moore. His name is. I believe it's Scott Moore.
It might be, but anyway,
but it's Trooper Moore.
Trooper Moore from the Michigan State Police.
Is he still there? Do you know, John?
Yeah. Andy Stoner's got him working Jackson now. He doesn't work for Hillsdale much.
Okay. But he was pulling us over all the time.
Yeah, if I can, real quick, if I can put something in, Andy's got a wonderful wife and a wonderful family. She's got a great family, and Andy almost didn't have that. He had to have me one day. He had me go to their house with the entire file, because I had to go through the file to convince them that he really was innocent.
That I was innocent.
John, you got daughters.
Yeah.
That's what.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
And they were protective of her.
It's only fair.
I actually had to go to the family with Andy and sit down and go through the paperwork and prove
Andy's
that Andy was innocent.
Articulate. He probably can't articulate this well enough to.
Well, he's telling the story, right? So Andy wanted me to come with the proof and show them the proof.
Yeah, and explain it.
And once they saw the proof, they were like, "Oh my gosh!" They were aghast too.
Yeah, but probably because they're part of the Matrix and they believe that the law enforcement was there to protect them.
Right.
I'm assuming.
And who's going to believe the once guilty guy? You know what I mean?
Yeah, the perv on the list.
Yeah. So, It was really hard for me, for a long time. And
How many times you got pulled over, you think?
well,
I know we
we
filed
did
6
we
internal
did
affairs.
6 or 7 internal affairs complaints.
And not including Todd Holtz.
And
right?
that was in a that
Right.
was well, we didn't. There wasn't a complaint made on Todd Holtz. These were all the state police complaints.
But obviously that went around the local police department
Oh, I'm
that
sure.
Andy's out and he's
Oh,
a piece
yeah.
of shit or whatever
I'm
it was.
Sure, yeah, it was an easy target, right?
So these officers believe this is what John and I talk about. These officers believe that they're the ones that should be doing the punishing.
Well, it's not just that. You have to understand their leadership says that they have to have so many contacts, and an easy contact is an easy contact. Not only that, a lot of things that we're there to serve and protect, and these guys are scum. We got to take them off the road. I understand. I get it. I understand.
And that goes back to Sheriff Parker doing that with Anthony Hart.
Yeah, it doesn't make it right, but it is leadership, right? It's the type of leadership.
I mean, movies and media do this too. When you got like bad cop, good cop movies like Lethal Weapon and things of that nature, you get this sense
This is
of
not an indictment on all police officers. It is an indictment on leadership within police department.
It's an indictment on the officers that are bad, though. I mean, like this is what we see that they think that they have this outside
but there's
protection
good
and ability.
officers. There's good officers that are forced into situations that they don't really like to be.
Yeah,
in as
well, yeah, it's not an indictment on all officers.
Yeah.
I'm talking for the officers that work outside of that Constitution, right? Is that
True,
fair to say?
true,
Okay,
yeah, that's
so
fair.
so you got pulled over quite a few times.
Oh, quite a few times. I mean, heck, there was an instance where a cop was at is that a Shell station across from the Michigan State Police Post? Or
Sicko.
Sicko?
It's a Sicko station.
So a officer happened to be there, a trooper, getting fuel.
And that police post right there is pretty active at that time, because it was pretty active.
No, it was,
Oh, no,
that
this
barracks
was shut down. Yeah,
That
it was
barracks
shut down. They were using it
Oh,
as...
but they do operate out of there.
Okay.
But they're not... It's not
It's
full-time
not fully
staff.
staffed.
I understand.
So, and I live down on Goose Lake Road. So I'm turning left onto Concord Road, and a cop the officer stopped getting fuel because he's seen me drive by. And I was heading down
well, I mean, everybody have a picture of who you are and what
they had-
list and
Well,
They
he
had-
drove a white Blazer. It was hard to miss.
with a loud
OJ
exhaust.
OJ vehicle.
No,
Yeah, no,
that was a Ford Bronco.
I was like,
That was a
oh
Bronco.
yeah, because that's a cool car.
Yeah,
you know?
he
I
had
want
a
one of
G-
those.
No, I don't. That's a Ford.
Yeah, that's a Ford. No one likes those. That's why Penny's got to get a new van, because hers is a Mercury. But that's besides the fact. So I'm just driving by.
He stops his fueling.
He stopped his fueling. I'm driving down
What
Concord
officer
Road.
was this, by the way?
Trooper Moore.
Oh, the same one.
Still the same one.
Jeez.
So he stops his fueling. I'm driving down Concord Road, and this is how I know he stopped his fueling. He was mid-pump. I could just tell. The digits were still racking up. I could see him when I drove by because I'm looking at him just like he's looking at me.
That or
because
he sped pretty good down that road.
I know him, and he knows me. I had his car
it's
number.
cat and mouse now.
I had his plate number memorized by this point.
You know how
in
it is
time.
when you're driving down the street, you see somebody and they see you. That eye contact,
Yeah,
just
that
kind of
awkward
clicks,
moment.
and it's
So-
like, hey,
On this particular night, it was raining. Okay, I'm driving down Concord Road. I see a car heading southbound on Concord Road, but it was stopped on the side of the road with its hazards on. Me being a caring citizen and wanting to help, I turn around.
and a mechanic that can help.
Right. I turn around to head back and see if I could provide any help to them, and see if they're all right. Not everybody carries cell phones, especially elderly. A lot of elderly don't have phones. I don't know, So I turn around. My now wife was with me in the car, and I turn around and I started to head back. And I noticed the vehicle was no longer there. So I go to turn around in a private residence driveway, go to put my vehicle into reverse, and I look back, and red lights come on. They pull me over, and they do a health and welfare check.
Yeah, no good
on me.
deed goes unpunished. Just so you know.
A health and welfare check.
Why would they have a health and welfare check?
Well, it was all a
That was
cover.
an excuse.
It was a cover.
No, I understand.
Because
but
they spent 5 minutes back there in their patrol car before they ever approached me, because they were under the impression that I had a suspended license.
because it was an easy take.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so they pulled you over and with the assumption that you had a suspended license.
Right.
They didn't run a lien on you before they came. Now they're running the lien and realize you don't have a suspended license. Now
Yeah.
they pulled you over for unlawfully.
Unlawfully, so they got to come up with a reason. So they come up and go, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm just turning around and you're blocking me. I'm trying to head home. well, you don't live here? I'm like, come on now, you know where I live. You've been posted up outside of my house.
Yeah.
You guys have been stalking me. You know where I live.
Yeah. What do you say to that?
Oh, he's like, well, we just seen you, turn around. We just wanted to make sure you were all right. You can have a good night. What the crap was this?
Oh, and this is the life you had to live.
Oh, yeah.
After you're innocent.
Right.
After you
Where's
try to
that-
help somebody.
Right.
Yeah. Here you are. Yeah. He's trying to help someone.
So, I got tired of this stuff. Always constantly happening. And me and my now wife started dating, and we were cruising around in her car one night in Hillsdale. And this was a good one.
They got a video of this.
Trooper Moore. It was great. Oh my God. His facial
Well, it's not great, but I get
Oh
it.
no, it was great
Oh,
because
okay.
I'm innocent. I know he can't do nothing. We're driving in my.
And you're hanging out with John, so you're probably learning your rights a little bit more.
Oh yeah,
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird how that empowers you, right?
I know, right?
Yeah. Like I'm as arrogant as they are anymore.
Right. So he pulls us over, and I'm in my now wife's car. It's a '06 Grand Prix. It's got tinted windows, and that was the whole reason for the stop was tinted windows. And
Did you blare the music while he's come walking up?
No, she didn't have a stereo system.
Okay.
I mean, she did, but yeah, it's got one now.
It's got a nice one.
Got a nice one now, but that's besides the point. So he rolls up, and I put the window down, and he comes up, and he's standing back by about the B pillar. He can't exactly see me because I'm kind of leaned over toward the center, and he goes, I'm Trooper Moore, the Michigan State Police. You got your driver's license, registration, proof of insurance? I said, I just kind of lean forward to where he can see me, and I go, I know exactly who you are, Trooper Moore. What's your reasoning for stopping me tonight?
His expression was
And you
priceless.
could see the oh shit wash across his face, like, damn it, not this guy again.
Yeah.
Fuck. Here goes another complaint. And he proceeded to tell me that he pulled us over for a window tint. Now, I know some of my laws. I said, well, the Michigan law is 35%.
Yeah.
And you can't go full window. It's got to be 4 inches down or to the AS1 line on the front windshield. I said, but this is her car, my now wife, Jordan. And I said, she has a doctor's note, so she's good to go. And he goes, no, even with a doctor's note, it's still illegal. I said, well, then by all means, if we're breaking the law, write me a ticket. And we'll
Well,
go
you got
to
to
court.
provide your license, insurance still.
Well,
right?
yeah. And he went
He
back
did.
and he ran all that. And we come
They
back.
run a lien on you again.
Right.
Did you guys follow you? How many times your lien's been run?
No,
That would be. I bet
would
that'd
be
be
interesting
crazy
to find
see.
out.
I don't think they can count that high.
But it'd be interesting to see if they could.
Yeah, I mean, I bet it's quite a bit.
Yeah. I don't even want to know, though.
They're probably running it at the station while you're not even around and shit.
They probably
As
just
soon as this
run
hits
me.
the air, they're going to be going, punch that number in.
Yeah.
It's like me, like wanting to shop on eBay, and I'll just one day just randomly start looking. But like them, they're like,
And now
oh,
that
what
I'm-
about that guy with? We'll look him up on the lien.
Now that I'm starting to do these podcasts, and I did Penny's show yesterday, they're probably going to find out that I'm hanging back. I've been gone for a few years, so now that they're going to
Right.
see that I'm bouncing around in town again or nearby, they're going to be like, "Oh, we got to see this running."
Oh yeah.
But I said, give me a ticket. If we're breaking the law, give me a ticket. No. Consider this a warning. And I said, okay, whatever. And then he comes back and he goes, I presume you're Jordan. He looks right at her and he notices that she's recording, and she's like, yeah. And he's like, all right, have a good night. And he books
Yeah,
it.
he's got to run. I see it all the time.
He
I
bails.
film everybody.
He bails.
Yeah, they
So-
run away.
So
It's the
John,
new weapon.
I called John and I said, hey, Trooper Moore, once again, we already know his badge number. We know his car number. This time, I said, pull up Michigan State law on window tint. So we did, and it's all right there in black and white. It says what's legal, what's
Right.
exceptional.
And we already know that particular one is somewhat petty, right?
Well, it doesn't matter. Andy was absolutely spot on by the law.
And,
Yeah.
and it says, see, the thing is
Up to that point, how many times did Mr. Moore pull you over up to that point?
this was probably the 7th encounter I've had with him.
Wow, that's a
And-
lot.
But the first one, he didn't realize who he was pulling over that day in that white Grand Prix.
to be fair, I mean, honestly, that's a lot of contacts for being in you're in a rural area.
With the same officer.
With the
He's
same-
coming from
exactly.
Jackson.
Mhm.
right? Or were they weren't coming out of the Jonesville; they were coming out of Jackson.
Right, out of
Post, right?
Jackson.
Post
yeah.
13.
I mean, what's that tell you? I mean, that obviously sounds like a
I mean, it
situation
sounds
where
like a
targeting-
target to me.
I mean, I've had encounters twice with the same officers. I've been in trouble a lot, but I've never had 7. With the same
He's
officer.
probably had. I think we did 4 or 5 IA complaints on him
I did
alone.
6. I did 6 in a row. We did 6 in a
Did they
3-week
did they
period.
get back with you on those? By the way,
Yeah.
Well, they got back with us on the last one because we
Yeah,
wrote
but-
up that IA complaint. We even attached their law to it, and
Yeah.
in Section 3, subsection E, it stated that if the RO of the vehicle,
Doesn't he talk like me now? I'm
yeah,
so proud.
I saw that.
Yeah, I'm so proud.
Section 3 AB.
hey, stop hating, stop hating. I think it's Michigan Vehicle Code Law 605 something, if I recall, Section 3.
Yeah, you can
subsection
say
E.
any number, we'll all believe you.
I've
It's all
got the
good.
paperwork in the car if you want to
Yes.
give me a minute because I started carrying it with me. But Section 3, subsection E states right in the laws, if the RO of the car has a doctor's note signed by an optometrist or a physician demanding the medical necessity, it was null and void. And I provided that proof to him. She had a doctor's note from an optometrist saying that she needed 20% tint.
Okay.
So that's darker than, for those who don't know, state law in Michigan's 35. So 20% is darker than 35. So slight technicality.
Why do you think they have that law, John?
It's so the cops can feel safe because if your windows are
You
dark,
pull over a cargo truck, you don't know what's in the cargo truck.
but they can't see you in that car. You could have that, shotgun or a
Do you
pistol
understand what I'm
behind
saying?
the
There could be
windows.
I can't-
50 Mexicans back in the back of my cargo truck with rocket launchers.
Well, if this is Austin, Texas, maybe, but but I can't assume what the legislature why they do it, but did it. But that particular complaint happened to be the 6th in a row that I'd helped Andy file.
Man, so
And-
what the boss is saying
Well,
up
what
there?
happened was after that 6th one, all of a sudden, I think Andy probably could have stabbed somebody in daylight and
Got
they
away
drove
with it.
by.
Yeah.
So they absolutely left him alone at that point in time. But then, what was it? About 2 weeks later, I got a report from Lieutenant McPherson from the Michigan State Police that said, "Oh, we looked at everything, and there weren't any violations of anything." And I said, "Well, that's kind of odd that there weren't, because now all of a sudden, after the 6th one, he hasn't had any more contact."
Especially with Trooper Moore.
Yeah. So
But
we got the relief that we were looking for, and that was to just leave him alone.
If that was the case, then why did you move?
Well, I still have the target. It was still
The
being,
stigma?
still having the stigmatism of being a sex offender. A lot of people didn't believe. A lot of people were saying that I paid my way out of it. Like I'm some freaking millionaire and I can just buy my freedom like that. So there was that.
A prophet in his own land is always scoffed. Even though the court said, "Yeah, you're done," you can't. People who've heard things, you can't make them unhear.
I know that.
Right.
Right. So
we had to get him out of here.
So I'm like, I just need that fresh start where nobody knows me. So me and my now wife, but girlfriend at the time, I said, I've got a connection in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I said, let's go.
Party. Hell yeah.
Right. On the beach.
Wasn't much of a party.
Only 30 years old.
Wasn't much of a party.
So we go down there and we were there for 3 years. In April of 17, we were down there for almost a year. We moved down there in September of 16, and in April of 17, I actually, with John's help and Dennis Wainscott's help.
Wait. Before you finish, you filed a lawsuit before you moved, didn't you?
Right. Yeah.
We should probably go back to that. So
Okay.
before you talk about Myrtle Beach, 'cause I
Okay.
know you got an issue down there.
Oh,
So
yeah.
so as far as
Got
your
issues
lawsuit
everywhere.
Yeah, well, this thing, Andy, I think you'll know this too. Even though we got the light shining on us today, it never really goes away.
No, it don't.
There will be a time again in your life where this will be brought up again.
It will raise its ugly head.
It'll come into your life one way or another again.
Yeah.
It does happen, and I think you're aware of that now. But
I moved away to get away from it.
yeah,
and
it doesn't
still
really
reared, so-
technically go away. So.
No.
So as far as your lawsuit goes, now how did that go about? Like what's going on there? What's up with the lawsuit? How'd you get the lawsuit started?
Well, I mean, we were kind of at a loss. I mean, we had hired Wilson Tanner to argue the 6500s, and he came in and we talked about suing. We actually sat down right up here at the Broad Street Market and had some coffee over it and said what I wanted to do. And he says, yeah, not a problem. As soon as we get these 6,500 motions taken care of, we'll proceed with the lawsuit. And after that, he kind of went rogue, like he disappeared. We couldn't get a hold of him.
This is common with attorneys,
so
too.
So now we're sitting like, what do we do? And John started doing some digging, and we actually stumbled across the Anthony Hart case. And
this is coming into fruition from when I got on board, right? So
right.
Absolutely.
So we stumbled upon the Anthony Hart case and noticed who his attorneys were. They were
Goodman and Horowitz out of
Goodman,
Detroit.
out of Detroit. And my now lawyer was doing an internship through them, so he heard my case. And we ended up retaining those 3 or 4. I don't know. There was quite a few lawyers.
Firm.
Yeah,
Actually,
a firm.
when we went up to talk to him, we went into
I
an
remember
entire
that.
conference room, and there was like
there was 4
there
of
was
them.
like there's 3 lawyers and 4 interns in the room, and then Andy and I, and they were furiously going over
Yeah,
the
they probably
paperwork
had all
that
their
we had.
assistants.
They
Right.
they were taking copies of everything that I had. They were talking to Andy. They were writing things down.
Well, it sounds like they're a legit firm.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
100% legit firm. But after some time had went by, they're like, we'll keep in touch with you, this, that, and the fourth. And me and John are both calling up there, because we haven't heard anything. As some time had went by, and we just calling to get some info, status update, what's going on. And for a minute, it was nothing. And then I got a hold of my now lawyer. Do I say who he is, or
Sure.
Okay,
It's,
so Nick
he
calls me.
he was a young lawyer with Goodman and Horowitz. Sharp guy.
Yep.
Absolute sharp lawyer.
Well, he's a sharp. He's definitely sharp in the area of wanting to help people that have been wronged. through the
Absolutely.
justice
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
that's the kind of character. You know what? John and I might not agree with him politically as far as like Republican, Democrat.
No, we
type.
don't. We're as far away politically on the spectrum as we
But
can.
we don't like bullies,
But
right?
Nick
Right.
and I are both very good friends. I consider him a brother.
Right. So Nick actually contacted me. He says, "Hey, I'm stepping away from this internship. I'm done with it. I'm actually going to open up my own law firm, me and a friend." And I
He said, "And I'm taking your
I would
case."
love to take your case with me. The other individuals at this law firm don't really have an interest in your case. He says, but with your permission, I would like to take that case and take lead
Cool.
on it. And I
so,
said,
so he was hungry.
well, I needed
Well,
somebody.
He saw
He's seen the
the
light at
huge
the end of this tunnel.
injustice.
Yeah.
He saw
But,
the
but
huge
as an
injustice.
attorney, he was hungry too to continue moving this forward.
Right.
He's a young guy. I mean,
And at that time, that's what I want. I want
He's not
somebody who's
jaded
going to
yet.
produce the traction. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I want to
Right.
get this ball rolling.
But
It's
Nick's
already
not
been
jaded
6
yet.
years.
he's not jaded yet. Right?
Sure.
He's still. I mean, he
He
came in
hasn't-
because he wants to make a difference.
Yeah, he hasn't fallen subject to the system
And
yet.
to this day, it's still in court, right?
Yes,
Absolutely.
It's
Yes.
we're at a stalemate, or well, it's stagnant right now. It's stagnant.
So this was 3 years ago. From that day to now, it's been 3 years now, guys.
Yep. There's been a lot of backs and
But
forth.
it did make it through all the way to the Western District. It's up in court still.
Yep.
It's in
not-
front of a Western District Court judge. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, so
Federal-
like it hasn't
federal
gone.
judge.
It's still there. You still got a good opportunity. We're just waiting on for a judge to look at the right.
Just
Yep.
waiting for a judge to make a decision,
Yep.
so it can go to
because
jury trial.
my defendants have all filed motions to dismiss, and there was a back and forth, and now we're done with that. So it boils down right now. We're waiting on the judge to say whether or not she's going to honor the motions to dismiss.
In fact, John, you were the one that served half of the.
Hey, man. Hey.
Don't drag him into this.
Yeah. Damn it! I'm gonna get pulled over on the way home tonight. No, yeah. So a lot of the, obviously I'm trying to be a third party here, but I know, obviously I was
Yeah.
intimate with it a little bit. So, but yeah. So now we're still in lawsuit, and there's still a good chance you're here. Anthony Hart's case took a long time as well, and I don't know if I haven't talked to him recently, so I don't know if his case is still going.
Anthony won in federal court. This
This is new news to me. What's going on?
Well, he won in federal court, hands down.
Awesome.
And,
Congratulations, Anthony, if you're
well,
hearing.
no, hold on to your congratulations first.
Well,
And then what happened was they appealed it.
Oh.
Well, no,
so-
even before that, John, he took the settlement with Kim Berger's office, where he took a X amount of dollars out of her insurance. I'm assuming is what she
No,
had.
it was out of John Levinger's.
John
Yes.
Levinger's. Okay, so in that money was able to, because there were several several people he was going after in that case.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was about 10 people or so approximately.
About the same as me, and we shared a lot of the same defendants.
Yeah. So what he did was
Yeah,
he set
that was odd. That was odd, wasn't it?
for
Yeah.
his case they
eerie coincidence.
Yeah.
for his
the
case-
Hillsdale's not corrupt though.
Yeah, he settled with Kim Berger, the court-appointed attorney's office at that point, to move the case forward, because he didn't have no more money to retain his attorneys and stuff to keep this case going, because it's expensive, as you know.
Yeah.
It's thousands and thousands of dollars. How much did he get wrapped up in attorney fees?
The last time I actually
ballpark.
Well, the last time I spoke with Nick, he had informed me we're low on it. We're actually under 5. I think we're still under 2. It's been a minute since I've talked to him, but when I talked to him, we were around $1,000.
That's it?
Yeah, ironically enough, because
No.
we had everything all black and white already prepared for him. All
John,
he had
how
to do
much?
was fight it.
No, that is correct. The other thing is,
Wow.
at
I
this
mean,
point in
that's
time,
just with Nick, though.
That Nick hasn't.
Okay,
Nick hasn't,
all the attorneys since you got out.
Here's the thing, Nick hasn't been charging full price on this either.
No.
Oh,
Because
he took it almost on a pro bono type situation.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
because the other
it's
thing
been pro
is
bono.
He'll
knew
take a
just
third of the
how-
cut, right, when this
Yeah.
closes.
Well, he'll
Right.
get his
He'll get
whatever
his
he's
attorney's fees.
invested in right off the top. Then he'll
Plus
get
the
a
third.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's usually how it works. So I was curious.
but Nick has put a lot of sleepless nights into it. He's traveled to the district court. Or to the
If
Western
this
District
was a
Court.
normal case, not on a pro bono situation,
He'd-
10, 15?
Oh, he'd be
It's
putting
hard
somewhere
telling.
around the 40,000 mark.
Yeah.
Probably.
Think so? That high?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
I mean, because the other thing is you got to pay to have the paper served, and
Yep.
we
Oh, yeah.
did cut rate on that.
It's called pro bono.
Yeah, and we did pro bono on that. And
So how much did you charge
so-
me, John, to serve my papers?
When you get your settlement, I'll tell you.
Okay.
I bought him a Pepsi. I bought him a Pepsi.
Oh, so you paid him off already?
I bought him a
Good,
Pepsi.
Yeah. So no. So you moved out. You moved out of state too. Obviously, now we're just waiting to hear back on some. You moved out of state, and it followed you, right?
Yeah. Like I was saying a little bit ago, I moved to Myrtle Beach in September of 16, and then in April of 16, I got full custody of my daughter. And with John's help and actually Dennis Wainscott, we went up there and had the paperwork signed, notarized, and I got my daughter, and we head down to South Carolina. I go to enroll her in school. That goes off, but then she had a school function which I wanted to go to, and I go to the school. They scan your IDs at that school.
How weird is that?
Security's tight.
In today's world,
That's weird.
not weird at all.
Biometrics here at the school.
Yeah,
But,
it's not weird at all in today's
There's a
world.
lot of bad people out there,
Yeah.
though.
Yeah,
You
it
know,
does.
so we got to make sure kids are safe, which I'm all for. Don't get me wrong. I
Yeah.
think there should
Even
be,
though kidnapping is on an all-time low,
but school
okay.
shootings have been kind of escalating.
they're on a low
now.
too.
Yeah,
Well,
don't even get me started on
There's
that.
not many. There's not that many. Trust me.
Well, there's one's enough, honestly.
Yeah, to create hysteria. No, I disagree.
Any man who is willing to give up essential liberty for supposed
Yeah,
security
yeah.
deserves.
Well,
no-
that's another show.
yeah, that's
Yeah. But anyway, so I go to the school function and they say we can't let you in. And I was like, what's going on? So I peek around and look at the
You knew in your gut what was up, though.
yeah, I had a good
suspected, but he
feeling.
didn't know.
I had a good feeling. So I peek around at the computer and I see a picture of me, and anybody who's been arrested, they know what they look like and what mugshot and when.
Yeah.
So I knew what it was. And
You
I
know,
said,
it was the SOR page.
no, it wasn't even that. It wasn't the SOR page. It was a mugshot from the Hillsdale County Sheriff's
Oh,
Department
gotcha.
when I was charged for
Gotcha.
failure to comply. So I said,
So
what do I got to do?
It was their website or something. Like how does that work? Is it a backdoor program or something?
It was a backdoor, like background check program, more than likely.
Interesting.
I'm not sure
Okay.
what it was. I think my lawyer looked into it just to find out, so
right.
we can get
so
my
you
name
can get,
scrubbed.
Yeah, exactly. So you can get scrubbed off the list.
Right. And I never. That's the
Once
least
it's
bit
on
of
the
my
internet, it's
concern.
always on the internet too, though. That's
That-
another thing that
Yeah,
that's
people don't realize.
Yeah.
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 Oh.
So that was kind of the least bit of my concern. I'm more focused on wanting to be able to go to my daughter's school functions.
Okay.
So they said, well, the principal's on her way up. She's going to have a word with you. I said, great. And she pulls me in, and I'm like, look, you ain't even got to waste your time. I said, I already know what this is for. Who do I got to talk to? I said, because this is a misunderstanding. And they go, well, I said, I've got lawyers. What do I got to do? And they go, well, if you got lawyers, your lawyer needs to contact our lawyer, and then our lawyer will tell us whether or not you're good.
Have your people contact my people. We'll do lunch.
Man, John,
Exactly.
You think that was by the book?
So
you probably have a lawsuit there.
before I even walked out of that school, I had my lawyer on the phone. I could call him right now, and more than likely he'll answer.
Sure.
So I
Makes
called
good
him.
people.
I forwarded the information. He immediately called that school's lawyer, and within 15 minutes, I got a phone call from the school saying, all right, you can come back. So they
Wow.
put me on their good guy list because that's what they had to do. Because if they still scanned my
Of course,
ID,
when you looked ar- when
it
you
was
looked
red
around-
flag. But then I got approved for the good guys list.
When he looked around the corner, though, there was an X in the computer screen.
Something
because
that nobody ever considers this. Look what this officer has done, not just for what they've done to you, which is horrible, but look what kind of situations they put other people in.
Well, it's not just the officer.
Well-
I keep thinking about the idiot over in Iraq that started this whole.
Well, yeah, I mean, I that's why an accusation alone can destroy people. It's not like
But see, it didn't just destroy me.
That's what-
Look at my kids.
Well-
my kids lost
your friends
time
and
with
family,
me.
your friends and family, right? So the people, the
But
loved
his
ones that
children, but his children at a very young age lost time with
Yeah.
their father.
Right.
And I lost time with them.
And
Can't
you
get that
lost
back.
Time with your dad.
yeah, with your father, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, there's what I'm saying though. What I was, we did go into all that pretty intimately, but what they don't realize is they put that school in a dynamic situation too, right? They put other people around, like the sheriff's department or like the city people. They put everybody in this very crazy, hysterical, dynamic situation.
Bad cold that keeps going around to everybody.
And there potentially could have been more lawsuits from this. There could have potentially been more grievance issues with you. It's just an accusation alone has done this.
Yeah.
And how many accusations get thrown around regularly like that?
A lot.
Can you imagine? And
A lot of people assume, and that's what got me on that list, was somebody's assumption.
and a lot of people don't fight as hard as you do.
Well, I did at first, and
A
that's
lot
why I
of
got
guys,
hemmed up for 5
you know
years.
what a lot of guys do? Fuck it, I'll take the 5 years.
That's what I did at first, you know, and then I got tired of it.
Or kill themselves.
Yeah, I know it because I got like 10 buddies that have child support, and they're like, screw it, and I already dealt with this. I'm a felon from child support, right?
Right.
Now I'm telling them, like, you don't want to do that. If you don't take control of it, someone else will.
Right.
That's right.
And that's what happens. So, wow, this is crazy, a crazy story. I hope if we have listeners, because this is a 2-hour podcast, so it's a long podcast. A lot of
That's the long
people,
one.
Yeah, we might lose them.
you might lose some audience, but I hope that they will understand how this system works, how they can improve themselves on when they run into a
Well,
situation.
The people themselves need to become
Less-
more independent with the laws and understanding the Constitution, because you are your only protector, really. I mean, should I say that you should have faith in your lawyers? Yeah, but at the end of the day, the only person who's going to have your back is you.
I'm hoping we can get less apathy out
Well,
of something like this.
And let's be fair. This is an exception. This isn't a rule. This is an exception to the case. This is not an indictment of the entire thing. But here's the thing. Just as Benjamin Franklin said, it's better that 100 guilty walk free than for one innocent man to lose his liberty. This is so important because of how an innocent, when they lose their liberty, how it can destroy that person, and not just them, but the people around them, and it can destroy society in general. It destroys the sense of justice.
The witch hunt on an accusation.
Yes, it's horrible.
It's
we
just
can't do this.
tone it down.
It's better that a guilty person walks free than for an innocent man to lose his liberty. It really is.
Yeah, seeking justice isn't sending the wrong people to jail.
No,
That's
No.
not justice.
no, it's not. That's not justice.
That's a huge injustice. But no, now I'm happy. I'm now married, so I actually just got married. I just celebrated
1 year.
my 1 year
So
on October 16th. So
now that you know your rights a little bit, you feel a little bit more empowered. Do you feel a little bit better about
Oh, yeah.
everything?
Yeah.
Like coming around and
Well, I mean, I still
do you demand that respect?
I still lurk in the shadows in
Do you?
Hillsdale County. Oh yeah.
What about your friends and family that even the ones that were I guess fighting with you, or that fight with the accusation of that second guessed you? Do you demand that respect from them now?
No, I'm not going to force it out of you.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to give it, that's fine. But
I don't
not,
like. I have. Friends,
I'm not going to come beat down your door and go, "You're going to respect me now."
Well, I
you
got
know?
like friends, like their mothers that are part of my life. You know, they would say negative things after the fact. I demand that respect today. Like, you ain't going to talk to me that way.
It is what it is.
Really? Okay.
Everybody's going to have your opinion.
Sure.
If you don't
Sure.
like me, line up with the rest of the people who don't like me. I don't care. Stand there and wait for me to care. You're going to be there a while.
See, the list behind me is way long.
It's cool that you don't have that chip on your shoulder.
Well, I mean, I live it like this, just like in the service. You know, veterans. You know, if you don't support our veterans, you don't want to stand behind them. Feel free to stand in front of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
point.
Well, I
Come to the battle line and stand in front of us.
I carry a chip on my shoulder. Yeah, everybody knows it. Everybody sees it. So it's just I'm envious. I wish I had.
Everybody handles different situations differently.
I wish I had.
I'm just
that.
tired of being negative. You know what I mean? I just
only be
want
angry for
positive
so
in my
long.
life.
Sure,
You know,
sure.
if it's negative, I wash it out.
Yeah. I
And-
mean, it's a weight that if you're negative, if you're like always thinking about
well,
it.
I mean, it brings you
negatively.
down.
That's what I mean. It's
It
a
puts
weight.
you in dark
Well,
places.
Forgiveness is for the forgiver, not for the forgiven.
Right.
Remember that.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
You know, so I want positive vibes in my life. You know what I mean?
Penny, what'd you think about his story?
It still blows my mind. I mean,
It's pretty sad, isn't it?
there aren't any appropriate words.
There's
It's
no
not
appropriate
right.
actions.
It's a nightmare, an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, it's a bad story, man. Bad story. I feel bad for you.
I applaud him for, and I've actually got tears in my eyes. I applaud him for his ability to move on, forgive, forget.
It's taken a long time. It's taken a long time. Like I said, I still lurk in the shadows around Hillsdale because I'm scared of what could come of someone.
Yeah, and
Who
you
might
Also,
still
somebody
have it
putting
out.
something on a police report that isn't true.
You know,
yeah, right. So I mean, and now that you
for the longest time when I was down in South Carolina, I came up here, 2-3 times out of the year, and I'd always rent a car.
and until
I
the
would rent a
lawsuit's
car to
over, you
come up.
can't make any dynamic shifts. Like, I if I was you, I mean, like I was one. I'm thinking like I would go interview some of these people. Like how do you feel after all this? You obviously you destroyed my life, so like I want to know what your life is like.
Right.
I wonder how that would pan out.
Well, like John always told me, he's all like, "Man, your case is so good. You're gonna have all these guys that you're going after. Their wives are gonna be calling you honey, and their kids are gonna be calling you daddy." That's how bad it was.
I think this would be an awesome reality movie.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm wondering. Like almost if you had a documentary that you went around to all the people that hurt you and you forgive them, like you already forgive them.
Yep.
And
To an extent.
how crazy would that be? Here you're going to that officer that they're going back to going back to the guy in Iraq.
Right.
Like look what this did.
Do you know where he is?
Yeah, Facebook friends. Like we never lose friends anymore, right?
No, I mean Facebook was. I was in Iraq and I got sent to Iraq in 06 to 07, so Facebook was just coming out.
I guarantee that person, if he has a soul or a heart, he'd probably cry.
Well,
Well, I mean, I'm sure I can find him with those military
You'd probably
records.
hope
So.
but here's part of the thing. And we see it we see it here in Hillsdale right now with some of the things that are going on. But it is true that you reap what you sow. And some people are getting a bountiful harvest right now of what they don't like because of what they sowed.
You mean the apathy with the community,
Well, some
right?
people,
Yeah,
no, I'm talking with the sheriff's department.
that's what I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you do reap what you sow.
Because there's good officers up there, but the
Yes,
apathy is
there
so
is.
strong that it's tough for them to.
But I even believe good officers reap good because they sow good. Bad officers reap bad because they sow bad. Now, some people call it karma, but it truly
I call it karma.
It truly is a true principle in God's word that you do reap what you sow.
I know in my life, the moment that I stopped my criminal actions, and grew up a little bit, everything changed dynamically.
Because you were sowing a different
I tell you
seed.
what, I never had a suspended license ever since.
Right.
You know?
But you were sowing a different seed.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So I have to be a firm believer of that principle.
Yeah.
I have to be.
It is a true principle.
You know? Interesting, man. What a crazy story, man. I appreciate you coming out.
But I
and
mean,
giving it to
it's
us.
also what they say too. You know, if you surround yourself with negativity, you yourself are going to become a negative person.
I understand that too.
Which is why
Birds
I've
of
tried to put positive things in my life. Now, my wife, for another hand, she's maybe not so positive. She likes to think of the worst case scenario and everything. So I try to bring her around, but opposites attract. But John, he's a positive individual.
But she lived through some of it, so she's
she
seen
did.
some of that.
She saw some of it.
She's seen a lot of it.
She's lucky that she didn't see a lot more of it.
I'm lucky that she was able to fully hear out my story.
Yeah, for sure, man.
And
I can't imagine trying to
understand
talk about
because see,
that.
when she first came to the Justice Project, I don't know if I should name a name on this one, but an individual who brought her there because she had her own things going on, you know.
You sweep her away from another guy?
No.
Oh.
I didn't. But another individual had brought her to the Justice Project
Because she had a couple issues going on.
because she had a couple of her own issues.
So she knew. Yeah.
So this individual brought her there to maybe help her out, and I recall her, and she actually just told me this last night. She's like, "Oh, you should have brought this up." So, honey, when you hear
then
this,
you better do what she
this
said.
one's for you. Okay. This individual goes, "You see that guy over there? Gotta watch out for him. He's a child molester. He's a bad guy. Stay away from him." You know what I mean?
I get it every day, man.
So I get it too. You know what I mean? But she took it upon herself to pass that judgment.
Yeah.
And give me the benefit of the doubt. You know, and when she
What a
started
blessing,
coming
huh?
there, when she started coming there, we were talking about my case about every other week. I mean,
She was there for a reason, for an injustice grievance on her own. So
Right.
usually that's when people, it's not like people are coming to HJP to come hang out.
Right.
A lot of times they come in
Yeah.
there for a reason. It's because there's an injustice.
right.
You know, so it was kind of.
But more people need to come. You can learn a lot from. I mean, John's very knowledgeable in a lot of different things.
Is it the same guy I know?
It might be. It might be. Go look in the mirror real quick.
Well, we should wrap it up, guys. I appreciate you coming out and
Yeah,
telling us the story.
Well, I made it a point to never. Honestly, this has got it so bad where I never want to reside inside of this county again. Because I'm afraid of what could happen if I come back.
Once bitten, twice shy.
Because I'm afraid there might still be a target. So, I live an hour and a half away. So wrapping it up doesn't sound like a bad idea.
All right, everybody. God bless. Thank you.
Read your constitutions.
Yeah.